Good evening.
There it goes. Okay. There it is. Now I'm here. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Zoo here with a very special guest tonight. I hope everybody's
Still there?
onto your asses because we're having one hell of a time with Discord. I don't know if they pissed some elite hackers off. I don't know if there's some people coming in to bust them, but they sure are busting our ass trying to do a show here, but a little late, but better late than never. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce and throw it over to my
You
guest
still there?
and tell them a little bit about yourself. This is Zilla. Oh, Zilla, you there? Still there, buddy?
Mm.
Oh my goodness! Give me 1 second here. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we're online. Okay, so everybody forgive Discord. Everybody S in the chats to spit on Discord right now because they are really fucking our shit up tonight. So anyway, let me try that again since nobody fucking heard me the first time. What we're trying to do is I've got a special guest on here today. You might know him on Twitter as Zilla. He's also got a YouTube channel, but I'm going to throw it over to him. He's going to introduce himself and we'll get right into things. So, Zilla, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, just a gamer from the '80s. I like to participate in console wars just for the fun of it. I have all consoles plus all retro. Got a nice retro collection. Uh, I used to write for Real Otaku Gamer. I used to be the senior editor at one time as well, but
Oh,
some
shit.
of the exhibitions like PAX East. I was about to go to PAX South, but my daughter was being born around that time, so I gave my ticket to somebody else in the organization. Now I'm into hobbies and all type arts and crafts and shit. So yeah,
Fantastic. Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to talk to you. I started my gaming time in the 80s, so couple old men talking about video games. It's pretty much right up my fucking alley. So I love that, man. Got Cold Nights in the chat. What's going on? Jay from Cold Nights Gaming stopped in to say hi. What's up, man? Hope you're having a better
hey,
time on Discord than we have been, but oh my goodness. So now you say gamer from the 80s. So now let's see where our paths kind of merge and converge. So I always kind of tell the story that I kind of started video gaming out essentially by what I would do is I would kind of emulate my dad playing Super Mario Brothers. He would play as player one, I would play as player two. And that's kind of got my that and Duck Hunt was the cartridge I kind of got my bearings on video gaming with. So what was your entry point into the hobby since you started from the 80s? I love that.
well, I was born in 1980, so I started playing '85, which was the first thing I played was my friend up the street. He had Atari 2600. So
Holy shit! Yeah, you're past me.
my first games at 5 was uh it was um Pong, and then later what
Nice.
was it? It was Pong, and then they had Pitfall. I love Pitfall. They need to bring that game back. And then I ended up getting a Nintendo shortly after, NES, and started since then, man. Shoot, back by the time like what when Mario 3 came out, like I was in elementary school, and I used to draw a lot, and me and my friend used to sell ID driver's license with I used to draw the characters for the Koopa Kids, and then around that time I found out that if you take Scotch tape, the frosted Scotch tape,
Uh-huh.
and you put an eraser to it, it makes it clear because at that time they didn't have clear Scotch tape. It was pretty much frosted, and so we used to make that at recess and sell them for 50 cents a piece.
Oh, that's awesome. So see, so gaming not only provided you with like entertainment and a hobby, but it provided you with a little bit of a hustle, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, see, people, all these fucking people that say video games don't help us, like absolutely do. They teach us economics, they teach us hand-eye coordination, like absolutely, like gaming being interactive entertainment, video games are a transcendent medium. I think it basically takes, like with movies and books, like it's a complete juxtaposition of our role in the entertainment medium. So take books, take movies, take television. Like you are the audience member, right? But with video games, you're the fucking actor on the stage. And
Mm-hmm.
I think
I,
people
I
lose
I
track
I
of that.
I don't really watch too much TV. I don't watch too much. I watch TV, right? But it's like
It has to be
I'll like
really
binge.
compelling
But
because
yeah, that's why I loved when I guess that was in 2000 when they started early 2000s, like when they started with what they used to call it when not direct TV. It wasn't direct TV had it, but it was like you can pin programming and you can just save it to. Do you remember you could save like TV shows and movies
was it like
to your
TiVo?
profile?
Was it called TiVo?
It was similar to TiVo, but it was through Direct TV. I
Okay,
forgot what the
yeah,
term that they used, but then fast forward and you got streaming platforms. So it's like
right.
for me,
I remember
I'll
Hopper and I remember TiVo are the ones I remember similar to that.
yeah. So it's like because since now I can watch my stuff a la carte because I really don't like watching TV programming where I have to watch stuff at a certain time of the day. I like to watch TV when I want to watch TV. I normally like to play TV.
Well, and again,
I like
I think that's over with. I think the whole thing about like, oh, you got to be there at 7 p.m. straight to see. I think that's fucking done. It was already done so with the advent of what we're talking about, like your TiVos, your Hoppers, your on demand. But now that we have like just straight streaming, like it's never fucking coming back.
mhm, mhm,
That particular model of television is just dead. Like even when like something like Cobra Kai comes out, I just binge that shit like now. So
mhm.
Jay says third old man here. So hey, old man's club. I love that because
How old are you, Jay? I'm 43. Just turned 43.
I am 37. So I
Hey.
think Jay might be the middle child between us. But yeah, I'm sure he'll answer here momentarily. So yeah, so you talk about Mario Brothers 3. Now that was to me, Mario Brothers 3 is like a transcendent experience for me. Turning 40 tomorrow, he is the middle child. So,
Mm,
but Mario Brothers 3 literally was a transcendent experience to me. That was the game. That was one of the games. There was a few of them. That was one, but in particular, Mario 3 is almost what I would consider to be a perfect game. The levels are perfectly paced, very interesting literary nonsense motifs throughout the level. Alice in Wonderland, like literally taking things like Jack and the Beanstalk, Alice in Wonderland, and kind of doing Nintendo's like Japanese spin on those literary nonsense motifs. Gulliver's Travels, going to the different kingdoms and rescuing these kings that have been turned into animals. It was so fucking trippy, and I just loved every minute of it. Going to World 8, when you get to World 8, you're literally like in hell, basically. Bowser seems
so
threatening.
when you said Alice in
Uh
Wonderland,
huh.
I would if I was to uh if I would to say any Mario game back then was like Alice in Wonderland, I would say that would be Mario Brothers 2.
Well, two, yeah, all of Mario actually. Like Alice in Wonderland is kind of
Mm-hmm,
cheating for three because it's really the entire series. So essentially, it was the
mm-hmm,
idea of the mushroom getting larger, getting smaller, and basically
mm-hmm,
just because people forget about this because now Mario is basically one of the things I fucking hated the most about what Nintendo did in the later games is making Mario like
mm-hmm,
a denizen of the Mushroom Kingdom. Like, no, Mario is a fucking plumber from
mm-hmm,
Brooklyn who went down the wrong goddamn pipe
mm-hmm.
and ended up in the kingdom, which the movie got right, by the way. The movie paid homage to those old
Well,
school.
and Odyssey would be the first game. that actually even harkened back to where Mario came. That was the
Yeah.
closest, like, and look, so Odyssey was to me a masterpiece. I say that because
Yeah.
I was like almost all the way through the game. I was like toward when you get to Bowser and Bowser got that vehicle and you're chasing behind, and I realized I had whenever I booted that game up and was playing, I was smiling the whole time. Like it was something about it that it just made me smile. Every stage was it moved great. The if you I don't know if you realize if you played or realized, but like those new Super Mario Brothers games, the ones that's called New Super Mario Brothers,
Yeah.
like it seemed like Mario was running on ice, and I didn't like those,
The
but
movement,
they
yeah,
fixed that.
the movement mechanics, yeah.
Hmm.
So let me take you. So I'll take you on a quick journey, story time for me, and for chat, forgive me, you've all heard this before, but I don't think Zilla has. So, I was always a 2D Mario fan from the very onset. I was a 2D Mario fan, and to me, 2D Mario was Mario for the longest time. And so I got to the Super Nintendo era, and they had Super Mario 3. Then it got followed by Super Mario World, which another fucking fantastic game, right? And then all of a
Uh,
sudden we
yes.
get to the Nintendo 64, and I don't hate 3D Mario. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. But I'll tell you what I can't wait for. I can't wait till they make the 2D Mario game on this fucking with 64 bits. And I waited 18 goddamn years for that game. So I forgave New Super Mario Brothers when it first came out, but I was like, okay, they can only do this one time. They can only get away with reusing the Mushroom Kingdom one time. They've got to go new locales, new enemies. They're gonna have to figure some shit out. And they
Mhm.
finally did with Wonder in terms of that, but I'm actually just playing New Super Mario Brothers U for a review, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. It still has, I have major issues with it. The fucking bop bob music that just needs to go die in a fire. You've got the slippery game mechanics. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I don't. The movement isn't, and part of it is I think we got spoiled by World because Super Mario World is fucking sublime movement, man.
It's super tight.
Yeah,
They took all of the best elements from Mario Brothers 3 and just like put it on 1,000.
I mean,
Because it's
World had its own issues, but the movement and the precision platforming was not one of them. Um,
what didn't you what issues did Mario
sure.
World have? I mean,
So
yeah, Super Mario.
So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So compared to 3 and Mario World, and I was actually just in Andre from Game Explains chat blowing him up on this shit because he's like, "Well, Mario World's way better," and I'm like, "Well, the fact that we even have to have the discussion between an 8-bit game and a 16-bit game kind of throws it to 3 for me. They're both nearly perfect platformers, so don't get me wrong."
Hmm.
But when I think of Super Mario Brothers 3, I think of a few things. So number one, you can't revisit stages that you beat in Mario Brothers 3. So it feels like a
Okay.
genuine journey through the Mushroom Kingdom. You can't go backwards. You're
Hmm.
always moving forwards. Now this has implications. It has implications that go directly to the game design of the game. So in Mario World, it's literally part of the game design. And again, it's a deliberate decision. So I'm not saying they fucked up or anything. But you have to replay stages because part of it is unlocking those secret exits. And that's cool as hell.
Hmm.
That's awesome, but it also
Hmm.
comes with the problem that you can farm coins, you can farm power-ups in easier levels. The coins are way too prevalent in Mario World. You have tons of lives by the end of that. And because of that, the difficulty just doesn't feel like it's there until the end game. The levels to me are a little overly long. Like I remember Shigeru Miyamoto commenting on one of the Iwata asks. He played Mario Brothers 3 and he remembers remarking like, "What, that's it after beating it?" Yeah. Yeah, Shiggy, that's it. That's it. And that's it.
Hmm.
Crisp, perfect pacing. The fact that you can't go back to levels, you're constantly having to move forward. Just like Mario, like if you're trying to save the Mushroom Kingdom, you're going to have some fucking urgency. and it just seems like Dinosaur Land. Like, oh yeah, I'll get to Bowser in his fucking clown car Las Vegas casino when I get to Bowser in his Las Vegas clown car casino. And again, those are all tepid critiques. Again, that's a perfect fucking game, damn near. But when compared to 3, I just prefer 3. But you can't go wrong with either one.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, look, what I liked about 3 and World. See, I like them the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I like Mario World better is because you can move around like from stage to stage and revisit stages. Also, it was just so much cleaner and more vibrant than the previous one, right? And like outside of that, like I enjoyed each stage, and each stage had their own. Some stages were like Madden. Some of the other stages when you had to really implement sacrifice of Yoshi
Oh, that was such a cool move.
in
Yeah,
your Super Mario cake
yeah.
in your Super Mario cake just to get to the other side of that mushroom tree type
I
situation.
did like the
It was
super
all
cape.
great.
I did like the cape mechanics better than the Tanuki tail, just because there was precision involved instead of just floating over the whole damn world.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, I
mm-hmm.
really like, because
So
in order to use the cape properly, you had to know what the hell you were doing.
and with because they both had multi not dimension, yeah, I say multi dimension uh, gameplay mechanics where like Mario 3, you can go behind the scene
Yeah.
and do stuff, and then with Mario World, you can like hit the fence and go on the other side and knock the turtles down from
Mm-hmm.
in the front on the forefront. So it's like it was they were true successors to each other. One was a true Mario World was a true successor to Mario 3, even though it was a different time. It was a different story,
And
quote unquote.
we've been waiting
But
ever since. Been waiting ever since for a 2D Mario successor.
you didn't like the Yoshi story game?
No. And let me
Let me
explain.
tell you about Yoshi story.
Okay.
So Yoshi story, so that was in my senior year. During my
Now hold
senior
on.
year,
Now hold on. Let me
yeah,
interrupt real quick. Are we talking about Yoshi's Island or Yoshi's Story?
Yoshi story. Hold on, let me think about it.
Was it
Let me
on
think.
Super Nintendo
Hold
or in 64?
hold on, let me think about it. Let me look it up real quick.
Because yeah, actually, my answer is very
Yoshi.
different depending on which one we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, it was Yoshi. It was. Hold on, Yoshi Island. Was that one? Which one was more like a storybook? Like each stage told a story.
Oh, okay. No, that was Yoshi's Story. Was the storybook game?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
Yoshi's
So
story,
Yoshi's Story,
right?
I never played. Yoshi's Island, I don't like,
Yeah,
but for other reasons. So
I,
we'll talk about that in a second.
I like Yoshi Island too, but Yoshi's story, right?
Okay.
So I was like a junior because it was '97. I graduated '98, so it might have I don't it might have been at the tail end of my junior. I think it was. Oh, yeah, no, that was my senior. So like I had and I had a class that was like it was like English class, but it was more centered around um, reading novels and writing, doing creative writing,
Okay.
and so like I didn't do like I forgot or I procrastinated on the project. Right, we had to create our own story. This was shortly after we read Beowulf, and so what I decided to do
Man, that's an epic one.
was to play all. What I decided to do was to play through Yoshi's story and write down each part of the story, right, and handed it in. My teacher loved it.
Oh, shit. So you.
I straight plagiarized.
That's
I
awesome.
straight plagiarized. I straight plagiarized. I don't even know what I named it, but I didn't name it Yoshi. I didn't name it the name of the game, right? And so, um, but fast forward, right? I ended up getting to writing, getting into rap and write my own raps, and then getting into actual creative writing, which eventually got me into uh, journalism for reallytalkinggamer.com. So like I bullshitted on that, but I actually liked creating a story, even though that wasn't my story, but it had me using my imagination and gave
Oh,
me another
one
creative
hundred percent.
output.
100%. And that's the thing, man. Like that right there, that's a story. See how the things surrounding the games. Like when I do game reviews, I often do that. I don't just talk about the game itself. Oftentimes I'll relate it to something that sticks with me about something I was doing when I played the game, or something the game has me thinking about, something that gets the old noggin jogging. I there's always an element outside of the game, because games activate more than just our reflexes, our gaming reflexes. Games are also tied to memories. They're tied to stories, like all kinds of good stuff. Um, so having never played Yoshi's Story, now you make me want to play Yoshi's Story. Now Yoshi's Island.
'Cause that was it. I only brought that up because that was an N64 game.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the 2D it was a 2D N64 game, and it was essentially Yoshi's Crafted World is no hardly any different from Yoshi's Story in terms
Okay,
of
gotcha.
how it plays.
Yeah,
And,
I was
mhm,
long gone. I had probably been long gone. See, my dad loved the N64. We used to play Shadows of the Empire was the game he bought that system
mm. Oh my goodness, yeah.
for, which is it's a fantastic game. And I played some of the
Mhm,
Golden Eye and some of the shooters on there I played, but largely I had retreated back into my Sega Genesis and my Super Nintendo for a long time. I'm like, fuck this 3D shit. I'm just gonna go play my 2D games.
mhm,
So I probably I'm guessing Yoshi's Story came out a little later. I probably missed it for that reason. Um, but and then of course you have Yoshi's Island. Now Yoshi's Island had the unfortunate thing. Like Yoshi's Island is a fine game by itself. It is. It's a fabulous game. But it also had the unfortunate designation of being called Super Mario World 2 in the
mhm,
West. And
mhm,
that I always
mhm,
took great umbrage to that, because that did not fucking help the cause. And what's interesting about it is you had two studios. You had Shigeru Miyamoto doing Yoshi's Island because they were trying to claw back from Sega, because Sega Genesis came in and just rocked Nintendo's fucking world. People don't believe me when I tell them this. I was telling OJ when he was on, we were going over the sales, and like Sonic the Hedgehog beat Super Mario World in the sales race. It actually sold more games than Super Mario World did,
mhm,
like the OG Sonic the Hedgehog,
mhm,
not the sequels. And so
mhm,
Nintendo was at a
mhm,
loss. They lost the sports gamers to the Sega Genesis, and Sonic the Hedgehog beat
mhm,
their mascots. They're like, what the fuck do we do? And Sega Genesis had a
mhm,
majority of the market share up until, you know, and so Nintendo had two projects they put together. They put together Yoshi's Island because Miyamoto didn't like the pre-rendered graphics that were working on in another game. And then Rare was doing a game called Donkey Kong Country.
mhm,
Donkey Kong Country ended up being the game that saved the day, where Yoshi's Island showed up, did okay sales, and then kind of did a fart in the wind kind of maneuver. But it certainly wasn't a successor in terms of a business sense to 2D Mario. It just wasn't. And so then fast forward to the N64, and you have no 2D Mario presence. You have 3D Mario, which sold half of what 2D Mario did. So it sold half. Mario 64 sold half of what Mario World did, and then
mhm,
Sunshine did half yet again of that. And even when you get to a system like the Wii, you have New Super Mario Brothers pulling 27, 30 million copies. And meanwhile, you got Mario Galaxy puttering around 9 or 10 million. It just, until very recently, 3D Mario has just not been able to do the job that Nintendo wants it to do. And this is what frustrated me as a gamer, because my favorite game series of all time is the most highest selling game franchise ever. This is before Grand Theft Auto, of course, of all time.
mhm.
But yet Nintendo treated it like this redheaded fucking stepchild, wouldn't touch it, wouldn't give it anything but bop bop music. And then it's given the 3D games the orchestral soundtracks and the
You said
production values.
the
What's going on?
you said the bop. Hey, look. I love the bop bop, man. Don't do the bop
Oh,
bop
the
like
bop
that.
bop. Oh gosh. But imagine those games. Imagine those games if it had an orchestral soundtrack like Galaxy did. No, bop bop. Like, come on, guys. Like, 2D Mario deserves better. That's all I'm saying. And
So,
but I will agree
so
that not Galaxy, but Odyssey sold me finally on 3D Mario.
mm,
It
that's
was
good.
so good.
Glad you came around. So what? So I've been saying I started this. Um, I guess it was last generation. I said, because before the generation before that, I said I don't ever see myself no longer like getting the new consoles. But then last generation, I was like, I will stop playing video games when Nintendo stopped being weird because it's even on the failures of even the system failures, right?
Uh-huh.
They they push the industry forward with innovation,
I agree with that.
right?
I
And
100% agree with that.
so if it wasn't for Nintendo, yeah, gaming would not be the same. And people could retort back and say, it'll eventually happen, but I would say no, it wouldn't, because if you look at some of these genres of gaming, like 2D platform, who who would have came up with the type? Who would have came up with the tight controls? Who would have came up with the who came up with the D-pad like Nintendo, like the NES and SNES had? Because
Yeah,
that was the tightest around,
it is hard to
right?
overstate the D-pad. It's the reason I can't stand the
Right?
Joy-Cons is that there's no D-pad on them.
Right? So you have the D-pad. Um you cannot leave that part out. You can't leave that innovation out. And then it translated into solid type gameplay with a Mario franchise. Yes, like Sonic, you said I didn't know that Sonic was winning like that because like it was just it I could never play. I think the first Sonic game that I played all the way through was the Sonic Adventures on Dreamcast because
I
I
hear
could
those are
never
good.
just
I
like
hear those are good.
so I couldn't get through a Sonic stage because it's just too loose. It wasn't tight enough. You
No,
understand?
yeah.
Like, but
I totally get that. The first Sonic game in particular was not great. If we're being
I mean,
honest.
it had a great soundtrack. I'll give them that. Like shit,
Yeah,
it had a great soundtrack
soundtrack,
and it had
great mascot. Great fucking mascot.
great mascot, great
But it
attitude.
didn't get
It was
genuinely good until Sonic 2. Um that
oh
first
yeah, Sonic Two is my favorite one.
Sonic 2,
Hmm.
yeah, Sonic 2 is my favorite too. A lot of people like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic 2 has always been my particular favorite just because I have such a great childhood attachment to that game. But Sonic 1, it's Sonic 1 is almost at odds with the speed of Sonic the Hedgehog, the ethos of Sonic the Hedgehog, because you're constantly after the first stage, Emerald Hill Zone, you're constantly stop and start and stop and start and stop and start, like constantly.
Hmm.
Um, Look at Marble Garden stage where you're just constantly just waiting for something to happen and having to wait for lava to flow or having to wait for blocks to drop. And basically, it works against what makes Sonic fun, essentially. And they get that tightened up a
Hmm.
whole lot more in the sequels. Okay, so Jay says, I remember huddling around the TV with my friends because I was the only kid that had a 64 in the neighborhood when it first came out. We were so obsessed with
Hey,
Mario 64, he says.
so when N64 came out, I was I I was in I think I was yeah I had to be I was a senior and definitely I was a senior and I had a class called speech class and it was like an English type thing, but they taught you about doing public speaking.
Right.
So my end of the year project was I was so damn late. I brought my N64 in and I did a tutorial on how to hook it up and play Mario 64.
That's called culture jamming, and I fucking love that. You basically gave your entire class an excuse to play video games at school. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is exactly the kind of thought that I, as a cyberneticist and an anarchical thinker,
Mm-hmm.
I love that, man. That is a great story. Uh, it's kind of like, I'll tell you, I got a similar one. Although I never did anything that clever. What we would always do is we had a math teacher named Mr. Bryan, and he would always talk about a game. He loves Siphon Filter on the PlayStation, and
Mm-hmm.
so we could literally get him off topic the entire class just by asking him questions about Siphon Filter or arguing about Siphon Filter with him. He literally on the whiteboard like drew the bridge level and like what he did to get through the
Mm-hmm.
bridge level. Like we had him that in depth. And then
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah, by the time he gets done, it's like, oh shit, the lesson's over. Well, get out of here, I guess. So yeah, video games. See again, video games and their utility outside of the actual game itself. So yeah, and then Jay says, "I know you hate 3D Mario, Zoo. Formerly hate 3D Mario. I'm not so much anymore because of Odyssey. And I am resigned to give the 3D Mario games a chance because here's the thing: my 3D Mario bigotry comes from it comes from being denied my game for 18 years, and some fucking animosity built up around that, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Look, hold on. No, man, I get it. Before you even said that, I got it because I'm petty like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm petty like that too.
Like, yeah.
So
Well,
I've
your
had
game sells half as much as my
I've
game.
had
Fuck
all
off, guys. Like, I buy.
look, I have all so okay, for each console, right?
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturer. So we're starting. So let me just say the three that's in in the game now. So for each console manufacturer, I had all of the consoles except for one. And each one that I did not have was only because I was upset that I couldn't get what I needed. So like
Uh-huh.
the Wii,
Uh-huh.
I was like the loudest cheerleader. I talked so many people into getting the
Me
Wii,
too.
but I couldn't get one. I couldn't get one because it was always selling out. So by the time that I could get one, I ended up getting a PS3. Subsequently, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm not even liking the Wii at all, even though I talked so many people into getting. Subsequently, I didn't get the PS2 because for me, right, if there's um if there's a groundswell of people that's in support of something, right, I won't like it, right, for a certain amount of time. And by that time, so around PS2, that's when GameCube, or PS2, that was GameCube. And I was loving my GameCube. So I was like, at that time, I had a son at the time. And I was like, I can only get one console. So I got the GameCube. And I wasn't going to mess with the PS2 because, one, I had a DVD player. So I didn't, I didn't
You
have a
brought
DVD player.
shots fired. You brought it up before I did. Yeah, the fucking DVD player. That's what I call that fucking thing.
I had a DVD player, and I love it. And what? So,
Yeah, I had a good I
like
had a
when we
good
were talking
DVD player that was a high quality one.
about, yeah, and so to go back to our conversation with X, um, about GameCube, right?
Mm-hmm.
What GameCube was great because one, the graphics is awesome, right? But two, they got Resident Evil 4. That was an exclusive to GameCube, and
Resident
then
Evil
they got
4 was
Resident
good.
Evil. Then they had Resident Evil Zero, right? They had so much support, third party support, in contrast, in stark contrast to uh, the N64, right? And when you were talking about Donkey Konga and all that, love that freaking game hurt my hands. That
Oh,
game, I love that game.
yeah, Donkey Kong Country or Donkey Konga.
Yo, Donkey Konga.
Oh no! Oh,
Remember with the drums?
it
With the
won't go
drums?
away. It won't go away. This fucking game follows me. This fucking game haunts me, Zilla. Like it won't fucking go away because a long time ago I said, what is it? I think I said to Rush Dog, which he's gonna watch on the replay. He said he's usually here, but he couldn't be here tonight. But he would absolutely be like
Mhm.
erupting in the chat right now because it's fucking game. And I said, but this is back when I used to write for Super SNES Hub, and I'm like, I'm sitting
Okay.
there just excoriating the GameCube as I'm wont to do, and I'm just like, all these
Mhm.
different franchises is pissing in our face. Like, what the fuck is this bongo game? What the fuck does this have to do with Donkey Kong? And then everybody just the fucking Donkey Konga Bongo Kong Defense Force just comes out of the fucking woodwork. And and Jay actually
So,
played that, made me watch that fucking game on his Twitch screen one night. And I had to concede that it actually looks decently fun. So there, I said it.
look, so at the time, so it's funny having these conversations
Right,
and having the deep experience that I have with video gaming and having these conversations on Twitter, right?
right.
Because oftentimes you have these 20s, late to early 20s, maybe mid 30s people that are talking about stuff and they wasn't
The
there.
PlayStation babies, yeah.
Yeah, they wasn't there during those times, right?
No,
Except for whatever, what like say PlayStation 2, they was there for PlayStation 2. But when they were, but they could at that time they were little kids, right?
right.
So they couldn't have whatever they wanted, right? So if you had what everybody else had, then you were only beholden to what was available there, right?
Right.
So, but me coming all the way to from Atari 2600, I just enjoyed video games, right? So, um, having these conversations with people, it's like I can tell that you went to a wiki or something or to watch some YouTube video, but I can tell you that what you're talking about is not how it was. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the climate thing. And I just it's just strange talking to younger gamers,
Well,
and
I mean,
they talk
nothing
with.
exists before the PlayStation, man. Like these are PlayStation babies, and
Mhm,
that's a lot of the journos too nowadays. And so anything past that,
mhm,
like if you get into like even the Super Nintendo and Genesis is like the land of the lost, man. And if you get past that, you get into like the NES or the Atari 20. You're in a different universe.
mhm,
Like you and I are
mhm,
we're from a different universe right now, man, and
mhm.
it shows. So and that's actually an interesting point because like the person who grew up with the GameCube, Bongo Kong is Donkey Kong to them. Where I'm like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this window
So look, the
washing
game
game?
Donkey Kong, I think it's something like Jungle Beat or something like that, right?
I just call it
It
Bongo
looked
Kong. It's
good.
easier.
It was one. It made sense because it was a jungle game. So when you think about jungle games, you think about like the Caribbean beat that's normally attached to, well, at least going back to SNES with the rare games,
Oh, I get
it
it.
had
Yeah,
that,
I mean for sure.
that jungle Caribbean beat. So it wasn't a stretch, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, it looked good. And then on top of that, see, that's not a game that I would want to watch somebody play. Not on stream. Like if I was watching somebody in person play it, that's one thing. But
Oh,
it was a treat to play.
that whole stream was like one big shit post because I talked so much shit about that game. He's like, "Oh yeah, watch this, man." And and I gotta admit, like, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Watching the stream did for me though is
Mhm,
watching somebody play it. Like, I will concede that it is actually a platformer because I was thinking like it was more like a
mhm,
rhythm game. Like it is a genuine platformer.
mhm,
And I was like, what the
mhm.
fuck? Why are we shoving Donkey Kong into a gameplay identity that is not Donkey Kong? Donkey Kong is a fucking platformer. It's not a fucking rhythm game.
And uh, and that's Nintendo, right?
Yeah, it
Nintendo did that.
drives me mad
You know what I'm
sometimes.
saying? If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have got if it wasn't for that thinking, right?
Right.
Because this was before or hold on, because like I really didn't get into the Guitar Hero, right? But when did Guitar Hero come out?
Let me check that. I think it's after Bongo Kong. Let's
I'm gonna look up when did Donkey Kong Jungle Beat or whatever.
Yeah, Jungle.
I'm gonna look
So
that up, and then you look up the other one.
yes, okay, Guitar Hero. I'm sure Guitar Hero was after 2005. So yeah, it's gonna be after.
So 2004,
Yep,
2004,
there it
right?
is. Only yep, there it is.
So I would say if it wasn't for Jungle Beat, you wouldn't have Guitar Hero, right? Because at
Compelling,
that time,
very compelling.
right, you got because you got to think. Oftentimes, these let's get this out the way. These game companies, especially back then, they wasn't doing too much when it came to innovation with accessories, right?
Yeah.
Sega did it when you because they had that fishing rod thing, right? But like you wouldn't get third party developers doing that, right? Because that's just an extra thing that someone would have to buy to
Correct. It's
enjoy
it's
your
the it's
software,
the peripheral
right?
conundrum. So peripheral conundrum is
Yep.
that without people when you make a peripheral without people buying the peripheral, you don't get games. But without the compelling games, nobody's going to buy the peripheral. And so that's why it's always pretty much
Mm-hmm,
been from time immemorial that if you want to attach a doodad to a system, you have to do it with the system itself at the outset of the system.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Otherwise, nobody makes games for it.
So, and then at this during that same time of Donkey Kong, Nintendo releases the
Oh, that's right.
Wavebird technology. You wouldn't have had wireless controllers for a long time if it wasn't for Nintendo selling that
So
peripheral or
so
that
so
additional
see
controller that wasn't.
so this is a very compelling argument to me, and thank you for presenting this because oftentimes on Twitter, and you'll see this, I come across as like the fucking evil king of numbers a lot of times. And so essentially I talk about like, okay, well, this game sold like shit, or this is not in line with audience expectations. So for example, 2D Mario. There are many more 2D Mario fans than 3D Mario. Or for example, with Zelda, I
Mm-hmm,
often criticize the Zelda direction because people don't want that shit. 4 million people buy Zelda,
mm-hmm,
30 million people buy fucking classical Zelda. Um, or
mm-hmm,
back in the day, adjusted for macroeconomics, you're talking like 16 million people bought the OG Legend of Zelda. Once you account for all the
mm-hmm,
macroeconomic adjustments, population increase, gamers getting older and having more disposable income, the Iron Curtain that locked off half the world, the Chinese console ban, the fact that nobody knew what the fuck a Zelda was in 1986. When you account for all of that, Legend of Zelda was the top selling Zelda game all the way until Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom fucking shattered it. And my argument was always that the
mm-hmm,
Tears of the Kingdom and Legend of Zelda, essentially what they came around and did is that is where Zelda should be with pop increase and with all the macroeconomic trends going in forward with time. This is where the Legend of Zelda should have been the entire fucking time, if not for spending literally a decade and a half on Anuma's fucking brain farts. But I like your argument because you actually have a very compelling argument. And that argument is that even though some of these games may be considered failures on a sales point, which they very much are, things like Skyward Sword, things like Wind Waker, fucking bombs. But at the same time, things like the Bongo Kong game, things like some of the directions they go with Zelda, they may not be necessarily in line with the audience expectations, but at the same time, what they're doing is they're pushing things forward and moving genres forward. Is that what I'm? Is that? Am I getting the gist of that correctly?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I can accept that.
So when I use this particular word, I know you're not gonna like it. And they grow gaming. Nintendo grows gaming,
Hmm.
right? What I mean by that is they create games for everybody, right?
Ages 5 to 95.
So
Yep.
right, so it grows gaming because it keeps new blood coming into the industry, right? If it wasn't for Nintendo, you look at PlayStation, you look at Xbox, right? You, where would a 5-year old get a good quality game? like because they're going to be playing Peppa Pig, right? They're going to play Peppa Pig. They're going to play some Barbie stuff or
Right.
Not maybe Fortnite. Fortnite is harder, so it's not like a lower. It's not easier to get into playing Fortnite, right? So you got what Minecraft, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
you
gosh. Yeah.
got those games,
That's a
right?
phenomenon.
But those, well, not the first two games, but Minecraft. Is that an online game? Because I haven't played Minecraft
It's
since it
online
was
and
just.
it's offline, but Minecraft. Oh my god, I wrote pages on Minecraft when it came out. Like again,
Mhm,
for some reason, games about blocks, games about breaking blocks, something in our consciousness about
mhm,
that. I called it the new Tetris of our time, essentially, and I was fucking right about that.
mhm.
Like that game took off.
Oh,
Like that was a fucking phenomenon.
so okay. Two things with the block game. Did you have a Wii U?
Did not have a Wii. Not did not have a Wii U. No,
Okay, so on Wii U,
not until way later.
so the Wii U didn't get GTA, right?
No,
And you know
no,
what?
and no Nintendo system really will, not a console one. There's a reason for that, but yeah, Wii U did not get GTA.
So it didn't get GTA, right? But I was okay with that because I had Lego City Undercover
Lego City Undercover is
as at
really
that
fun. I played that on the Switch. That is a fun game.
Lego City Undercover. I At that time I was like a 29-year-old
Right.
playing Lego City Undercover, and that game was great. It had like so many little innuendos and
Hmm.
little slide little comments. You had to pay attention, like while you're playing the game. Like the writing in the game is great, and it was just laid out right, right.
Hmm.
And then when you're talking about Tetris, do you have a favorite Tetris game?
I'll tell you what. This new Tetris. What is the one that just came out? Not 99, but Tetris Effect or
Not
Tetris
99.
Connect or something.
Okay.
It's
Mm.
that new one that came. It was on
It's
Sony.
Tetris
It's
Effect.
the one that's yeah. It's the one that's
Mhm,
like a fucking visual acid trip as you play Tetris,
mhm,
like an audio visual acid
mhm.
trip. That is an incredible Tetris. But in terms of my favorite Tetris, probably have to be the OG Game Boy Tetris, just because it's the one I have a nostalgic
Okay.
connection to.
Okay. So my favorite Tetris is called a game called Tetris Sphere. Tetris Sphere is so it's a sphere, right?
I was gonna say that just
And the
sounds
blocks are
that
coming in.
sounds interesting.
The blocks are still dropping down. So this is 3D. This is like N64. So
Okay.
the blocks are coming from the screen into the screen, if that makes any sense, right?
Hmm.
And they're dropping into the sphere, and you got to move the sphere to drop it into place. I love that game. So when I started to rebuild my micro collection, I made sure I got that game. Because most of the games I got was either I missed it during the time that it was out, or I was just nostalgic because I loved it back then, right?
Right.
Um, Tetris, if you look up Tetrisphere, that's a great game.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that one out. But yeah, and if you look at the original Mario, same thing, breaking blocks, man. Just all
Hmm.
these games that have that in common that we really like the idea of breaking blocks. And I don't necessarily know what the fuck it is, but it does seem like a lot of the. And then of course you got Yamauchi's original comment with Tetris, which is I think he said that what did he say? He had two games that he could pack with the Game Boy. Yamauchi did. He had Mario Land and he had Tetris. And he said, if you want to sell games to boys, pack this in. But if you want to sell games to everyone, we packed Tetris in. And they made
Hmm.
the decision to pack Tetris.
Hmm.
And it was one of the
Hmm.
best decisions he ever made. Now he has his share of bad
Hmm.
decisions, literally turning his back on Final Fantasy.
So you said Yamauchi, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yamauchi.
Yamauchi.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
the, the, the
He
mean
was
old
a freaking mob
the
boss.
mean old man himself. Yeah.
He was
Oh, that dude
Mr.
was
Yakuza.
fucking ruthless, man. That dude
Mm-hmm.
would literally like
Bloody Savior,
he
but
would pit developers against each other.
yep. If it wasn't for him though,
Yep.
he would gaming wouldn't be the same.
No, it wouldn't because he pulled he's
Nintendo
the one.
saved
Yep.
the industry.
Well, yeah, he pulled Nintendo out of the Hanafuda cards, and he was one of the first ones who
Mm-hmm.
did that. He said, "Hey, because this is young man Yamauchi's like, guys, the Hanafuda cards, there's a limit to this. So we need to get into toys. We need to get into
Mm-hmm.
other things." And then that gradually evolved
Mm-hmm.
into the electronics and the video games. Yeah, and literally pulled us out of a video game crash. 100%. And
Mm-hmm.
that was Nintendo. And that was Nintendo and their standards, which by the way, that's why when people talk about, oh, third party support, like third party support's important, but there is a limit to the amount of third party support Nintendo can get because they still, especially the Western third party companies, they hold fucking grudges, man. And EA, like
Mm-hmm.
I often tell the story, and you probably remember this story because you're old enough to, that Trip Hawkins literally had to be threatened by his own goddamn board of directors to make games for Nintendo or be fired because he did not want to
Was
make
that during the
any.
Wii? Was that during the Wii era?
That was during the NES era. His own board,
Okay.
Trip Hawkins, they told him, he said, you will either make games for the NES or we'll fire you and get somebody who will. Because he was so against it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he didn't like it is because Nintendo inflicted that quality standard that you could only have 5 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
Because they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to avoid the
So I
crash
so
of
I
all the
just
games.
recently I want to say was sorry about that. It was earlier this year. I had watched a YouTube video about the history of Nintendo,
Oh,
and
it's
they really dug in deep. They really dug in deep, and situations like that came up, and that's when I realized that Nintendo had that mandate where you couldn't make so many
mm-hmm.
games. I didn't know that EA had an issue back then, but um, I did hear about that 5 game rule, and because of that, right, when I started to build my collection, right,
Mm-hmm.
I started to get certain. I started to get certain 10 gen video games for NES,
Yeah.
right? Because it was I wanted to get all of the 10. It was like 5 10 gen games
Do you have
that
Tetris?
were that were unlicensed Nintendo games. And it was like a whole kerfuffle about that.
Uh-huh.
Like it was some espionage. That was a whole separate story. But I was like, wow,
Did
I
you
got to get these games.
did you ever get your hand on Tengen Tetris?
No, so right now I have Tengen, uh,
I mean,
Pac-Man.
they're all expensive, but
Yeah, I have Tengen Pac-Man.
nah.
I think the rest of them. I got like two
Having
other.
any of the Tengen games in an NES collection is a grail for sure. So if you got more,
Oh, this is what. Hold on, what is this? Let me see. Sorry, hold on. Let me look. I'm looking at my show.
no,
So I got the Tengen Pac-Man. I got the Tengen Pac-Man for NES.
okay,
I got the Tengen Pac-Mania for Sega Genesis. I have no, sorry, I'm lying. This is a Pac-Mania, Tengen Pac-Mania on NES. So Pac-Man and Pac-Mania. Then I have
okay.
Shinobi. So this I got Shinobi because that was a
Yes,
Sega game that was on Nintendo,
I didn't
right?
even know
So
that.
that's an NES. So I have a Tengen Sega game that's for Nintendo. Um, so that's the 3 that I have right now. Right?
Man,
I
that's
still
I
got
didn't
like
even
two
know
more.
about that one.
It's like 2 Sega games that were made by Tengen that are on NES. Yep. So, but yeah. So it's like real deep history with that, man. And it's wild. I didn't even know all of that was going on at this time.
Oh, 100%.
But
Now getting back to Grand Theft Auto, are you familiar with the
mhm,
story behind DRM Designs and how that all played out? Because that's a wild fucking story.
no,
I'll regale you with it.
no,
Okay, so
please.
let me pour a little bit more. By the way, I always forget to do this. I'm drinking some Hibiki Harmony. It's a Suntory. This is their blend.
I was about to ask you.
Yeah,
I was about to ask you that.
yep. This is their
So I'm drinking.
blended whiskey.
I'm drinking. Is that so? It's a blended whiskey.
This is one of their blended whiskeys. This one is one of their more widely available alcohols.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have an 18 year that I cracked open when I was talking
Oh,
to Player Essence. But that's this
when did
is
you talk to OJ?
oh gosh, that was my second or third when I talked to him and had him on for a
Mm-hmm.
little while. And I think he's going to be back on here coming up next week, but I don't want to hold him to it because he's a busy guy. But I think I'll be talking to him
Well,
again soon.
if you do see him, tell him Zilla Times 2 said what's up.
I will.
Uh,
I will do that.
I'm a supporter of his web this site just because I've been watching him since he first came into the game. So
So
that was around the Wii U time,
yeah,
Wii U time.
I have to sing OJ's praises because I don't usually do this with larger YouTubers. Usually larger YouTubers I treat with kind of scorn and ridicule. Because for the most
Mhm,
part, like my whole thing is like, we're fucking YouTubers, man. Like people who do this or try to do this for the most part, they're fake as fuck, a lot of them. And as we're starting to see, like if you saw H Bomber Guy's expose on all the plagiarism going on, or if you saw this
mhm,
whole shit going on with Gerard the completionist, it's like holy shit, man.
mhm,
Like these motherfuckers are so
mhm,
fake. And so out of all of that, you have this other guy, and it'd be OJ, who just is doing his thing, and he doesn't ask for shit, and he tells it
mhm,
like it is. He breaks things down logically. He talks about sales numbers.
mhm.
I need to get him off the fastest selling shit. I need to get him off of
Well, see,
this
look,
fucking
okay,
term fastest selling,
you,
this bullshit fucking term that they use to goal investors. Fastest selling. I sure hope it's the fastest selling. It came out in fucking 2023. I sure hope it can outsell a game from 1995. I hope so. But aside from that, and again,
oh look,
they all do it. Every journo does that.
yeah. So
That
OJ,
guy's a real one. That guy is
whenever,
absolutely a real
when yeah, and he's definitely a real one. I've been a subscriber to his page since he pretty much first started,
one.
right?
Okay, so you got to see the origins of
And
OJ. See, I didn't get to see that.
yeah, so yeah, I don't even think he knows that. But
Yeah,
like he knows
I'm
of
like a
me
late
because
gamer.
I donate to him and all that. But like, and I jump into his streams and talk every once in a while. But um, he's a great guy, and I always say that he's like the James Brown of this gaming thing, the YouTube gaming industry, because like he's the hardest working man out there. Because like you're not going to from no one
That
else.
fucking guy
You're
streams
not
like
going to
every
get
day.
yeah, you're not going to get the in depth conversations on the streams from anybody else when you're talking about like just strictly gaming and the numbers and stuff like that. Now your numbers is different from his numbers, and like my career, I'm in
My
sales.
numbers are the real numbers. But
Yeah, right. So, but I'm in sales, and we don't even use microeconomics because
well, yeah,
it's just
and
it's just
why
it's a
would
different
you?
game.
Why would you? It makes modern game sales look real bad. Like
Well, because there's
The fact
things
that
in it.
Metroid Dread is still underperforming a 1986 game, it's bad. It's really bad. The fact
When you
that Kirby
stop
the
being
Forgotten
scared,
Land is underperforming Dreamland is bad.
but that's if you add the macroeconomics in it.
Correct. Yeah, the investors don't want to hear that shit. Investors want to hear, hey, it's the fastest selling game of all time. That's what investors want to hear. This game sold
Because
really fast and really good.
let me ask you this,
Yeah.
because I was listening to your last stream,
Okay.
right? Your last liquored up live, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about population increases and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And time ago, I was looking into just population decline because though it, over swaths of time, there is an increase, but the increase has been slowing down, especially in Japan and China and
Yes,
parts of Europe, a lot of parts of
especially in
Europe.
2020, we actually in 2020 because of the COVID pandemic, we actually had a slight
Well,
decrease in the first time ever globally.
so what I was looking at, right, when it was talking about population decline,
Hmm.
I was looking at like so Japan, China, and parts of Europe. It's women no longer wanting to have children
Yeah,
because of their career aspirations, right? So that's what I was looking into. And so when I was listening to your last stream, I was like, well, how much of an effect? Granted, you did have all of China opening up, so you
right.
can
That
sell it
happened
there.
at the
But
tail
like,
end of the Wii. Yeah, that happened.
mhm. So there's an offset there. But it's you have um I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but I know in America, um the debt has increased,
Hmm.
the 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 price of everything has increased, and
Yes,
people aren't making the same amount of money
and so
as
yeah,
in relation to
yeah,
how much they're paying out.
and so to give the audience a little bit, because I want to make sure give the audience an idea of what we're talking about. I often bring up the idea that population increase is, and again, I use population increase as a very rough. It's not a scalpel. That thing's like a fucking sledgehammer, guys. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But what Zilla's saying is there's more than one macroeconomic. So you've got other things like inflation. You've got things like um, you've got things like slight population decline in countries that are buying more games. So, for example, if what I do is I take global population increase is just a kind of a cudgel
Mhm,
to kind of do what I do. But what Zilla's saying is if you want
mhm,
to get down to the brass tacks, what we really ought to do is we ought to be looking at the population increases and decreases in the countries that are buying the games for the most part. Because there's some countries and some
mhm,
markets where they don't even report fucking game sales. And so what he's saying is there is
mhm,
more at play than just population increase. And even with population increase, using the global number can be a little misleading. It certainly can be. And I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. I only use population increase. I use that as kind of a rough way to show gamers that there's a whole lot more to this shit than just a direct comparison
mhm,
across decades.
mhm,
100%. And I agree with you on that. But the thing is, and I could do that. I could do because you'd have to do an inverse yield curve. There's things you would have to do in order to make that happen. But if somebody wants me to do that, like now we're getting out of hobbyist YouTube territory, hobbyist videos on YouTube,
mhm.
and now we're getting into fucking pay me territory. And I will do that. I will do a full macro economic analysis and breakdown of any franchise you want. But at that point, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to see some dollars for that.
yeah.
So if anybody's
Bucks,
interested,
buddy.
if anybody wants to pay me, I'll do it. But in the meantime, yeah, I want to make it very clear, and I probably should make that more clear. And that is the fact that when I use global pop increase, that is a very rough cudgel that doesn't tell the
Mhm,
whole story. It's just used it as an example of trying to tell you guys there's more to this than a direct comparison across stages. So yeah,
mhm.
but anyway,
And then there's also the value of the actual dollar, yen,
time value, yep,
rupee, ruble,
time
or whatever
value of
it is.
money, 100%. Yeah,
So I say all that. I said all that to say this. That's the reason why they don't use the macroeconomics because it's just too time intensive and it's not really worth it at the end of the day.
well, and so, but let's be honest, okay? So I agree with that. Like one, it's a lot of work. Oh my god, to actually,
Mhm,
because and I think you have a fair point that as a games journo, you can't really do that because again, it is very rough. So you can't just take the
mhm,
pop increase and be okay. So Zelda sold 14 million adjusted for pop increase. You can't really do that as a games journo because it doesn't tell the whole story. And I think there's a
mhm,
point to that. Um, there's also the aspect that if they really did the breakdown, it would make some of these new games look like less of an achievement. And the goal to an investor,
mhm,
and I'm not saying the journos do it for that reason. I'm saying the companies report it this way for that reason. I don't think there's any malice with the
mhm,
journos. I think they're just like, boy, that's a lot of fucking work. I would have to have I
Mhm.
would have to have an economics fucking background to even have a chance to do it right. With the
And also, and what's the payoff though? Even if you're getting paid for it, what is the payoff?
the truth is gaming
To what end though?
is gaming advancing, or are we in decline with gaming? And I don't think we have a clear
Well,
picture of
okay.
that.
Well, look at it this way. You probably did. I think we had this conversation before on X.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah,
So
we talk about this a lot. I love
with gaming, right? So with gaming, right?
it. Hmm.
Okay, when you're talking about sole video games, DLC, consoles,
Hmm.
handhelds, PC,
Right.
right? That market is pretty much a fixed market, right?
Hmm.
However, when you're talking about gaming leaving just that sphere, and now we're into successful movies, theme parks, and beyond, right? Doesn't that, because it's all attached to gaming, right? It doesn't that show that gaming is the gaming industry is growing, even with population increasing.
I think so. Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, look, I mean, if you look at the top properties, like the Mario movies, like what, number 3 or 4? So, like,
Hmm.
fucking for sure on that. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, and chat, feel free to correct me if I am wrong on this. I think gaming is actually it's actually eclipsed, and it wasn't like this in the 2012s, but it is like this now. I think we
Hmm.
actually have eclipsed music and Hollywood again. I think we're behind sports, but outside of
Hmm.
sports, I think we're number 2 in terms of entertainment, dollars made from entertainment. Um, that's
Hmm.
pretty fucking good. We haven't been in that position since the arcade era. So
Yeah. Yep.
again,
I agree with you
and
on that.
so it's the economist question. It's compared to what? Compared to the arcade era? No, they were out they were eclipsing even sports back in the arcade era. But
Hmm.
in comparison to where we were in the piss era, where everything was like that piss stained yellow, back in like the the 360
That was the
PS3.
360 era.
Yeah,
Hmm.
back
Hmm.
in that day where if you take the Wii out of the equation, like gaming was in massive fucking decline. Like remove the Wii
Hmm.
sales from that era of gaming, and you got a pretty good picture of what things would look like, and what things did look like when you had the Wii U, the PS4, and the Xbox One. Um, Not a pretty picture, but I think the Switch has had a lot to do with it. I think the success, the ultimate success of the PS4 had a lot to do with it, and I think the surgence in mobile gaming had a lot to do with it. And that's the thing. If you count
Hmm.
mobile gaming, yeah, forget about everything.
Hmm.
I fuck, if you count mobile gaming, we might be number 1 in terms of entertainment.
I mean, you have to. It's gaming.
Yeah.
You
So
have to.
if you do that, I would see that point. If you're counting, yeah, if you're counting mobile gaming, and I have to look at that. Sports makes a lot of fucking money overall as an industry.
Yeah.
Like sports makes a lot of fucking money. But I think it would be close. I think it would be close if you count mobile gaming. So I'd have to take a look.
Because
Yeah.
because you got different levels of gamers, right? So it's like some people aren't gamers, right? But they play mobile games like crazy, right?
Right.
They're always in their phone, and we're talking from 8 to 80, right?
Right.
And so and then it's so segmented, right? Because you have mobile gaming, you have PC gaming, you have console gaming, you have handheld gaming, you have
Hmm.
VR gaming. You then you're not even gaming anymore, but it's still attached to the industry. Now um, you have successful TV shows on streaming platforms like HBO Max and The Last of Us, and then
Sure.
you have what's that, Twisted Metal, and then you have there's not you have never seen
How I hear Twisted Metal.
unanimed.
I
Well,
hear Twisted Metal's good. By the way, have you seen it yet?
to know because I don't have that streaming
Yeah,
platform,
I want to see that.
and I think that's the same. I think that's the same platform that Chucky's on, and I so want to see that Chucky TV
Chucky's
show.
good. Chucky's good. It's on Shutter too, but Chucky's really good.
I so want to see Chucky
Dude, Chucky's great.
because he deserves the TV show. He
Oh
deserves
yeah,
the TV
it's
show
great.
because that's good.
And you know the premise of Chucky, right?
From the movie
The
or
show.
from the TV show? No.
Yeah. So basically, there's this. I'm not going to spoil it, but watch Chucky. It's good.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You like for me, a person cannot spoil
Oh,
anything
thank you. Oh
because
my God, right out of my heart. Yeah. If it's good, it's good. If the story's good, the story's
well,
good.
it's like this, right? No, you can be as descriptive as Stephen King when you're telling me about a TV show or a movie or anything, right?
Uh huh.
Do you think by the time I watch that movie or TV show or game, play that
Uh
game,
huh.
I'm gonna remember the shit that you just said?
Very fair.
Do you think?
Yeah, no, we got so much shit going on in the modern fucking world, man.
The only thing that you're gonna do is gonna make me want to consume that product up front.
Yeah, so
You see what I'm
yeah, so
saying?
basically what's going on is there's this kid has kind of a rough home life, and he ends up finding this Chucky doll. And so Chucky's going this like
Mm-hmm.
Chucky's kind of evolved his craft. Like he's not like killing himself. He wants to urge like the kid to be a serial killer. So he
Okay.
wants to kind of pass on like the serial killing to like another kid now. It's really interesting. It's a
So kind of like how the move the not the Bride of Chucky, but the one where Chucky and his wife had that weird boy,
yep, that's it.
and they tried
See the
that
Chuck
the
yeah,
weird
see the Chucky.
uh, see the Chucky.
Yeah, but now they're
So it's kind of like
but
that,
now they're
except
going after an
for
actual
human.
kid. They're trying. He's basically become a mentor, like a serial killer
Hmm.
mentor, basically, and trying to bring out that
Okay.
impulse and urge in people. And so it's kind of an interesting premise, definitely. Definitely worth checking out. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's a good point in terms of yeah. If you look at the surrounding industry, yeah, it's hard to argue. You know, I come from a time when I first started writing, and I've got to remember, I've got to remember that things have evolved. And so I come from a time when I was at Bitter Betty, sitting there, just still playing my fucking Super Nintendo, mad that the Wii direction of expanding gaming was being abandoned. I used to make this point all the time: is that gaming decided to begin to cater to young adult males at a certain point in its
Hmm.
trajectory.
Hmm.
And I'm always at the point that I liked what Nintendo was doing with the Wii in terms of bringing more gamers in, the disruptive innovation, the blue ocean strategy, and trying to get
Hmm.
instead of that sustained innovation, bringing more people into the hobby. And I always said, the way we're going with the tech wall, we're about to hit good enough. And graphics, I think, have done that where we've overshot the market in terms of you're seeing that with PlayStation 5, you're seeing that with Xbox Series X, where basically
Hmm.
we've overshot the market. The market has the products are doing more than the average market can bear, is what's happening. And
Hmm.
as you
Hmm.
do that, games become more expensive to develop. It's more expensive to develop a 3D AAA game in 4K than it was in 2K, which it was in 720p. It just gets more and more expensive. And so if you're not growing the hobby along with those budgets, eventually you hit a thing like like 2008, 2009, where in the PlayStation 3 360 era, you had, I think, 120 game developers go out of fucking business. You had THQ get drawn and
Hmm.
quartered. Like that's going to happen. And
Hmm.
so Nintendo had a different proposition to the industry, which was rejected. I'll mind you,
Hmm.
which was, hey, instead of catering to the hardcore gamers, and going exclusively toward that route, let's try to bring more people in order to get those, in order to buoy and support these massive budgets. And at the time, that proposition was rejected, and it was a disaster for the games industry. Now, I think they learned from that, and fast forward to today, we do make games for everybody. It seems like we are catering to
Hmm.
more than that young adult male demographic. It seems like we are beginning to try to bring other people into the industry, as well as also taking care of that original demographic that is the bread and butter. So I think gaming has found a really good balance at that. And I guess perhaps I'm just asking for too much because I want the world, man. That's the thing. I I want I
Well,
want I want us to
and
have
that's
it all.
and that's the benefit of if you have the finances. That's the benefit of owning everything, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not going to find everything in one platform because it all depends on who they have a who the heck? Hold on,
Right.
my phone is ringing. Red. The heck?
Oh, what's going on?
Man, my phone is ringing. Um, I just sent my text message. I was
But
like, oh, what? But so because you're not going to find what you want on one platform. I would say that for the most part, a Nintendo platform will probably be the best way to get as much as you want because with the Switch, they have a decent amount of
holy shit.
third party support,
Oh my
right? They
god.
have a decent amount.
Not
It's
only
not
do they
great because of
yeah. Sorry. Not only do they have great third party support, they've got like a curated third party support from all across time of gaming. It's amazing.
Mhm. So when you're talking about a general gamer, the Switch is the best entry point into gaming, right? So but like PS5 and so like I just recently started playing my because I have an Xbox Series X. I've
Right.
had it for about like 2 years,
How you
three
liking it
years,
so far?
2 years, 3 years, right? So but as of last week, I haven't played my Xbox in like 92 days, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
and and that was because there was nothing there, right? I had Game Pass when I first got it. I had Game Pass Ultimate,
Hmm.
and the only thing that I found that I actually like was it's a game I haven't finished yet. I just started back playing called Echo Generation. Apparently, it's an Xbox One game, right?
Hmm.
But it's a great game. It's like a HD 2D 3D game. Um, kind of like in the life in the essence of what was that one game? I have it on my Switch, but it was I think it was like the first 4K game on the Switch. 'Cause it's like a 4K game, but it's
Okay.
not like you know GTA 4K.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But it's like a blocky type game, right? It's a blocky type game, and it's like when you're talking about the story, it's like it's like a blend of Stranger Things and Goonies, right?
Yeah, those are some heavy
And
hitters. Those are
yeah, but it's in terms of just like the story, the general feel of the game, right? It's a great game, but I try to get all the consoles because if I get a console, it's because of an exclusive. Like I stand behind
100%.
I stand behind. There's no reason why you should get a console if they don't have an exclusive because the exclusive will show you the potential of the type of game that you're going to get on that platform. So, I got the Switch because the Xbox One I traded in because Scalebound got canceled. And
Oh,
I
that was
bought the
that was such
console
a
because Scalebound,
dagger.
right? I bought that console for Scalebound only. So I played third party games on any of the
I
platforms,
was
right?
heartbroken when
But
that got canceled. That was Hideki Kamiya's
me
joint
too.
with the dragon, right? And it
Yep,
was like you'd
yep.
fight to like the
So
beat of the music or whatever.
so I traded my Xbox and my two controllers and whatever games I had in my Connect. And you know what? I got a Switch, two extra controllers, 5 or 6 games, and a couple game cards for the price of trading in my Xbox One. So I literally was going to do the same thing for the Switch 2 with my Xbox Series S, but with this last um Game Awards and some of the stuff that happened a little bit before that, I was like, you know what, Xbox, okay, I'm gonna hang out with you for a little while longer.
Mm-hmm.
But don't but don't think I will trade your punk ass in if you let me down.
Have you played any of Starfield yet? Because I want to get. I've been waiting to hear somebody like who's actually played the fucking game, because it's so many people on, especially on fucking X, have opinions on games they never even fucking played. Like,
So I have not.
okay,
I have not. And my cousin, he's playing. My
what's he think?
cousin's playing that game, and he likes it, but um, he likes it for different reasons because he's not like he doesn't go online and talk about video games. He's just a gamer like me, right? We've been both playing games since the 80s
Right.
together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of like me. I don't like we have all different. Like we look at our catalog of games, there's so many different genres. You can't really. I'm not that type of guy that just plays one type of game. I play any type of game.
Me too. I'm a
And,
multi-genre. I
and,
think I've got like 400 on the fucking Switch now. Like, I think
mm, mm,
over
mm, mm,
400 actually. Yeah, I came back into gaming hard on the Switch.
mm, mm.
I came back
So
with a vengeance.
so I'll play third parties on any platform, right? But but it has to be some exclusive shit.
Yeah,
So
well,
Echo Generation is an exclusive. Is this not on my play? It's not on play PS5 or PS4 or what it is.
mhm.
It was like an Xbox game. I guess it's a third party game, but
Well,
it's
and
like an
that's
exclusive.
the
It was
problem. Like, that's the whole
on-
problem with these new 4K twins. That's the problem with both
mhm,
the PS5 and the Xbox Series. Like, Yamauchi was not wrong when he said that the Nintendo was just a box you buy to get to Mario. Wasn't wrong at
mhm,
all. And
mhm.
yeah, here we are. We got two boxes that just are not going. Hey, Keithius, what's going on, man? Just popped in. He says the Tourist is the game I think was the first 4K or 8K game.
That's it. That's the game. That's the game.
The
So
Tourist. I,
Echo Generation looks like the tourist. It looks like the tourist
okay.
in graphical in the graphic department and how it's designed. But it's you have multiple perspectives. Like sometimes it's like 2D, sometimes it's always 3D, right? But
Hmm.
sometimes you're going from left to right. But it has depth in the screen. But it's
Coolness.
always
Okay.
the scenery's always changing. When you get a chance, look it up.
We'll do.
Oh,
Well,
but
definitely we'll do.
you said what you were drinking. You said what you were drinking. Well, I'm drinking brandy. I mean a cognac, which is
Ooh.
Douce, but I have it mixed with some ginger beer and lime.
Oh my God, that sounds good. Well, just for that, it's time for me to break out. You know what? I'm gonna switch over to cognac. I always like to share it with my guests. I got some Hennessy XO here.
Mm.
I'm gonna take a picture of this bottle and share it
Can
real
you
quick.
hear
It's
me?
beautiful.
Can you hear me eating my Chex Mix?
Not yet. Um, yeah, I don't hear any
Okay,
interference
because
or
I've been
anything.
chewing. I've been making sure. I was like, oh, you don't hear me.
No, I don't hear any mouth noises or anything. So yeah, you should be pretty good. So yeah,
Good.
when I pour my next shot, I'll switch over to the Hennessy. Because I always
Okay.
always like to have a good cognac on. Now the thing is like within reason, because the cognacs get fucking stupid expensive,
Hmm.
like stupid expensive.
So as I got older,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can only drink certain drinks that gives me acid reflux.
right. Yeah, like your XOs and your VSOPs are pretty much right where I'll stay. Like I won't go much higher than XOs because again they get stupid. Like I'll get it like a good Blanton's, which is my favorite bourbon. Like if you can find it, like because now all the fucking yuppies have jumped into bourbon and buying it all up. But
Oh,
if you can find it on the fucking shelf, it's like $80 for the best bourbon you can find.
okay,
Like cognac's
okay.
not like that. Cognac for a good quality cognac is going to cost anywhere from 80 to $300, and then it gets stupid from there. So, like,
Well, I like Duce because it has some good notes. well, after you drink it, it has some good notes, flavor notes,
Yeah, it's a good
and it's in the lowest. I think this bottle I have was like $20, $21,
nice.
and it's great. I like it. Sometimes I'll get a bigger bottle, but I wasn't trying to go hard tonight.
Oh no, yeah. Especially last thing I want to do is wake up with a hammering ass headache. On although
But I don't get that. I don't get that.
you don't get that.
I don't. No. I only had a hangover one time, and that was because um, I didn't do what I normally do. So there's a science to drinking, and what you have to you have to eat a little something, right? But what keeps me from getting the hangover is drinking water. Like you have to drink water.
Hydration, yeah, because
If you
what's
just
happening
I
is
drink
it's dehydration. Yeah,
exactly. So I'll
that's
drink like
what the poison effect is. Yeah,
I like to drink stuff straight for the most part.
me too.
So
Neat, very neat.
when I'm drinking, I'll drink a cup because I don't do shots. I'll drink like a glass, and
That's
I'll
what I
drink
have
like a
right in front of me.
glass.
Yep.
I'll drink a glass, and then I'll drink my second glass, and then I because I pay attention to when I'm getting to my limit, right?
Right.
And my limit is when my face starts to feel tingly,
Uh-huh.
right? When my face starts to get tingly, that lets me know I need to drink me a bottle of water.
Yeah, because
I drink me a
that's
bottle
your
of
body starting to get poisoned when you feel that.
yeah. I drink that bottle. I drink that bottle of water, and I'm at my my apex of being tipsy. I'm officially tipsy, but I'm not drunk. Right? I'm
Right.
tipsy, but I'm not drunk. I'm not slurring my speech. I'm not walking weird. I'm I'm talking. I'm a social butterfly. Like everything's peak, right? But then I'll just start drinking my water, and then I'll give me in the third glass. But then I'll just like baby walk that third glass, you know, depending on how late the night's going to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's a science to it, and people just be throwing shit back and not drinking no damn water.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, even science has its limits. So tell me you've not drank Kharkov without telling me you've not drank Kharkov.
Look, man, look, because before I start, even still, but like I don't drink like I used to because I get acid reflux. But
Right.
um, I never had an issue with mixing drinks. Like I can drink a lager, a light beer, a dark beer, uh, a vodka, some brandies,
So
and some mixed drinks all in the same night and won't be tore up.
so
Like
give
it
you
wouldn't mess my gut up.
I'm gonna give you a challenge. So
Hmm.
when I went to Krakow in Poland, right?
Okay.
One of the things that I talked about because I like a good vodka, right? I like a good vodka, like a Grey
Hmm.
Goose or a Belvedere, or something like that. You know,
Hmm.
Absolute.
Hmm.
Um, and if you ever talk to a Pole, like they will laugh at you, like a Russian or a Polish folk, they'll laugh at you about that. And it's like, well, what the fuck's so funny?
Okay.
Like, that's good vodka. He's like, no, it's not. That's terrible vodka. And he says, vodka is supposed to hurt. My buddy Cam in there told me. And so it is with that I was introduced to a vodka called Kharkov. Okay. So
Hmm.
you can find Kharkov in any grocery store. So here's what you need to do. You go down the liquor aisle, you go to the vodka aisle. And you know at the top shelf where you've got like the Kettle One and the Tito's and the Absolute, right?
Hmm.
Then below that, you've got like your, what is it, Smirnoff. And
Hmm.
then below that, you've got like your Svedka. Now you're
Hmm.
starting to get into like the plastic bottle shit.
Uh-huh.
So what you need to do now, you should be at the bottom shelf, right?
Okay.
You need to reach underneath the shelf and there's a latch that you pull. And
when the mice are
underneath that latch is where they keep the Kharkov. And Kharkov is the most gut rot fucking shit that you've ever drank in your life, and you will feel like you're fucking dead the next day if you drink Kharkov. I did
no,
I did it on stream one day for Liquored Up because, and again, I blame the polls because it was I had a buddy named Cameron and his whole thing. You Americans and your fancy vodka. No, vodka's supposed to hurt. True vodka hurts. It's like so I when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? And boy, that was a night.
No, I'm not doing that.
No, that's smart.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because no, just no. I don't like being. No.
Now the closest thing I can get to it is like, do you remember like when you're young and you'll just buy whatever the fuck you can afford, just whatever the fuck, so you get like the Mad Dog 2020 or like that this nasty gut rot shit. It's like the Polish version of that.
I don't even drink E&J and stuff like that no more because it's like I can't even go back.
No,
it's like I like
E&J will tear you up. It'll tear you up, man.
Like I like good flavors, man.
Right.
I like good flavors.
No.
Not,
Kharkov sucks and it hurts. Like I can't describe it any other way. But according to Russian and Polish folks, like that's the way it's supposed to be. So
because
you all make
can
it.
do.
So, yeah, I'll take your word for it. But
you ever But they're about to say no masochists over there anyway. So that's just they find pride in it. Pain. They find pride.
They literally produce. They produce like in Russia they produce like Dostoevsky, like some sad ass shit. Like you ever read that shit? Like fucking suicidal novels are like one of their greatest exports.
So so that's that culture. Well, I'm not for that. I like look. I like to get nice and tipsy.
My fucking
I don't like.
my
I don't
throat
even
is
like
burning just thinking about Kharkov. Anyway,
look. One time, right?
Right.
This is drink called Thunderbird.
Okay.
I never tasted it before, but it was Fred Sanford used to always talk about it, right?
I was gonna say it sounds sus already, but
right. So one time I saw Thunderbird, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this Thunderbird, and I just tried it. I tried a cap of it. Like I poured some in a cap, and I was like, hell no, I'm drinking this shit. It tasted like ass. Like I was like, whoever's drinking this shit. Now I know why homeless people drink that shit. Like because it's just like you gotta feel like death. Just like fucking. There's no reason to live.
And it stretches your dollar. It stretches that dollar out. So. But so that's what I was going with before we got so story time. So there's a company called DMA Designs that works with Nintendo. They make a game called Uniracers on the Super Nintendo, right?
I remember Uniracers. That was like the second or third game that uses the Super. That was the second or third game that used the Super FX chip.
Yeah, and so basically, DMA Designs they got sued by Pixar because Pixar made like a unicycle movie. And so apparently, because they made a movie with unicycles, nobody else gets to do anything with unicycles. And they actually won the lawsuit because Nintendo didn't put out a lot of money to defend this. And so DMA Designs had to rip Uniracers off the shelf. So that was DMA Designs' first game. All right, they're kind of pissed off because they felt like Nintendo didn't really go to bat for them there. Then go to the next system.
Hold on, pause. So that's what happened why we didn't get a sequel to that game?
That's
because I like that game.
Yeah, that's what happened. Pixar sued them and they won, and so I had to pull it off the shelf. So now fast forward to the N64, they make a game called Body Harvest. Okay,
I remember that.
Yep, Body Harvest was cool. It was a really neat game, which Nintendo didn't market because Nintendo was like, it's a little adult for what we want to deal with. So we'll publish it, but we're not going to put marketing behind it. and the game fails. And at
Yeah.
this point, they cut ties with Nintendo. DMA Designs is going to cut their losses. They're done. They go out and they go to the PlayStation
Mhm.
and they make a little game called Grand Theft Auto. And the rest is
Hold
history.
on.
Yeah, DMA Designs was,
What?
yes, DMA Designs was Rockstar North. They became
Because I
Rockstar
remember the
North.
first two. I remember the first two. I remember the first two GTA games.
Yeah, they weren't
I
great.
remember those.
It didn't blow up until 3. But the point,
Well, look. So because GTA now is no different in concept. It's only different in design, right?
right?
Because even then they had people cussing at you.
Oh yeah,
That's what I liked about it as like a I think I was either in middle school or ninth grade. So around that time, having games, you know, had the not only talk because that was still far and few
oh
between,
yeah. I didn't
and
really game
let
in that
alone
time, and even I played the Grand Theft Auto, the Holy Trinity. It was Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas, baby.
it was great that they made it into 3D because it was it was a learning curve trying to drive in the perspective that they had the game because it was a top down
Top
game.
down game, yeah.
So
That was, yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that like that's how Nintendo. Like people are like, why don't we get Grand Theft Autos on Nintendo consoles? And that's why.
Oh, okay.
That is why. Like they do some stuff with the portable systems, but mainline Grand Theft Auto will never see it. We'll never see it because there's that bad blood. But
So you're telling me that from you said DMA,
DMA Designs became Rockstar North. Yep.
so it's D as in dog MA, right?
Yep. D as in dog, M as in mouse, A as in apple. DMA Designs.
Okay,
And they
so
became Rockstar
so
North after they cut. Yeah.
are there still people there from that time?
I know the founder went and made a crackdown on for Xbox Studios, but I haven't followed all of them.
Mhm.
Um, I would highly doubt it. We're talking almost 30 years now.
Because that's a strange beef to have when ain't no one there still. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I wonder about that, but I can't think of another way. We just haven't seen it. Now naturally, some of it's
Because
like we're not going to
we
see the
did
new
have
Grand Theft
Chinatown
Auto
Wars.
6. We got but that was on the DS and it was a spinoff. But the question becomes
Yeah,
like, why the fuck haven't we gotten? Because absolutely we should have Grand Theft Auto 5. That should be on the Switch.
I don't know, man. I think Switch Two might see it.
I would love it because God, like, um, it's one of the few games, like there's a few, the Switch in general, like it's my favorite system of all time because of what it's curated. Keep in mind that all these games are new games to me. I haven't played
Mhm.
Grand Theft Auto 5. I haven't played a lot of the third party games over the last few years because I basically my trajectory was NES, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis. Had a GameCube in the house, but didn't really play it. Had an N64 in the house, didn't really play it. Then we skip a generation to the Wii, and then I played the Wii hot and heavy. Skipped the Wii U generation, and now we're here. And so a lot of these games are new games to me, but there's some games that we're not getting Mass Effect because EA are fuckheads. We're not getting
Well, they had Mass Effect on Wii U.
what's that?
It was Mass Effect on Wii
Well, not on the Switch, I mean, but we're not going to get it.
U.
Like,
Oh yeah, it's too late.
yeah,
Um,
Dishonored, we're not going to get, which I'd love to have. I'd love to have, what is it? Dead Space. I'd love to have OG Dead Space. They have to be the remake.
yeah, I'm surprised Dead Space didn't
Yeah,
watch one.
like especially since you're
You
doing the
know,
remake. Oh, by the way, you can get the OG on Switch. Like it prints fucking money. But again, it's that bad blood between EA and Nintendo.
so the EA beef that I know started on the Wii U when
Yes,
um,
did not help.
EA when EA was trying to put their what is it EA Play or whatever their little
Hmm.
platform is that they have.
Yeah,
So and Nintendo was like, nah, dog, and then that was it for that. And then The switch effect is a real thing. Like
It
so much
is.
so that
They ignore it at their peril. I
I
mean, it's like, do you
had
guys not like money?
I had the definitive edition with steelbook of Witcher 3, right? On my PS3.
Right.
I so I couldn't get into the game because of the control, right?
Right.
With the camera, right? And then, but I was interested in Witcher 3 on the Switch because one, it was the definitive edition and it was all on that game card. That was amazing. And when I played it, I put like 220 hours on that daggone Witcher 3. I beat that and the DLC that came with it that was
I'm
packed with
I'm really pumped to
it.
play The
And
Witcher 3 finally. I'm really pumped. I have it for Switch. It's just in the
yeah,
backlog. It's in a 400 fucking game backlog.
it's a great game. It's a great game. And I just couldn't, for some reason, on my PS3, I think the main reason was because it was other games that I didn't have to deal with. That,
Well,
right?
and again,
And with the
you
Switch,
have to sit in front of a fucking TV or a PC, and the Switch lets you
mm-hmm,
game in bed or
mm-hmm,
game on the couch. Like the Switch is, it's revolutionary. It really is.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So, some of those games, I haven't played my Switch in a while. But that's because as I get older, I don't even really have. I realize that the older you get, you got to be in the mind space to even play the game, right? To enjoy it. You know what I mean? And
100%.
it's just like, as a 43-year-old, it's just like unless in a father, like you don't the time that you have to play a game, you might just want to lay down.
Oh no, I hear you. And so, how is that like? So having a kid, how has that impacted gaming? It sounds like, I mean, pretty significantly, because now your kid becomes the number one thing in your life. I mean, I know that. I've watched my
Mhm.
sister, yeah, ever since she had her two kids. Like it becomes the center of your world, man. And I'm sure sometimes you'll get to share some of that gaming with them, but in general, I'm sure it kind of cuts down on the gaming time. I would be hard pressed. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Right.
So okay, so for me, I have two kids.
Hmm.
My oldest is 22, right?
Right.
And my youngest is about to be 8.
Okay.
My youngest is about to be 8 a week, right? And the difference is I gamed more when my son was young, around the same age as my daughter.
Right.
But but because I was younger, I had more energy and that and the third. But now that I'm older, right, and I got way more responsibilities, and I'm
Right.
dealing with a 7, 8-year old, it's like I just like back then the mind space didn't have to be right for me to play games. I could just turn the game on, play, right?
Mhm.
But now it's like, man, I don't have I can't. I'm not even thinking clearly enough to be able to play, right?
Mhm.
So like back in 2020, when COVID hit, 'cause I'm in sales, and then my customers wasn't allowing vendors to come to the property, so I was doing a lot of emails and phone calls, right? And so I played hella games, right?
Right.
And during that time, because my backlog, right? And so back then, I started to create a notes on my phone, and whatever game I start, I will put on my list for that particular year, and then make it make it my duty to finish that game because I have a habit of just buying games and it might sit on the shelf for a year. You see, and so it's like,
I you can
so now
confirm.
that's
Can
my thing.
confirm that's a problem.
I mean,
Yeah, that's I'll tell you, the backlog thing, like you almost do have to structure it. You almost have to structure it in order to get through it. Like it is when you start to get that big backlog. 100%. Um, so next thing,
I got 100. I got 100 on each console. So my Switch, over 100 on my Switch, my PS5 slash PS4, and maybe I only own 20 something on my Xbox. But like, I got too many damn backlog games, and that's why. When I just started playing back on my Xbox, and I realized Xbox dropped the ball on some things,
oh,
and it's
yeah,
they on
yeah, for
Xbox.
sure.
Well, on Xbox One, they had it so that you can stream from your console, and
Xbox has always
I think
had
I
like
got
the best user, like their online usability is very good, from what I understand. Like,
yeah. So and they used to have like this video editing program on the Xbox One. They got rid of it on this one,
right,
and it's just harder for me to share my gameplay because on my YouTube page, um, I start to do a lot of backlog games,
right.
and so but I can't stream that. I got maybe I just got to find out how to do it. But I don't see it. It's not up front. It might be a weird app or something that I gotta find to do it. But I can't. It's not hard baked into the game, and I don't like. It's not hard baked into the console, and that's what I don't like. Like, why do
See,
you make it difficult for people? You're making it difficult for people to promote your platform.
well,
You know what I'm saying?
especially when they used to make it so easy.
Hmm.
Like, it just seems like a
Like, why
reversal. Yeah,
backtrack from
not
it?
good, not good at all. So let me switch over to another tab here, real quick. Let's switch over. So we're gonna show the viewers something else while I ask this question. So it's that time. Every once in a while, I got to bring it up, and so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the future for a second here. And so we're gonna share this tab instead. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So Switch 2. So what do we think Nintendo is going to do with this? And do you think it's going to be a Switch 2? Are you leaning into what OJ's kind of saying? Because OJ tends to have some good sources on this. He says we're going to get a Switch 2 based on some of the news he's curated. My only question is Nintendo does tend to like to do the disruptive innovation every other cycle or so. So do you think? Right. Yeah. So and while we're talking, there's a picture of Nintendo Prime up there, and a little meme that says "Still no Switch 2." Oh well, there's always next video. That's what I have up while we talk about this. So, right. It would make a lot of sense. Yeah. Yes. Super Switch would be cool. Something fucking because here's my one concern. My concern is that Nintendo has a tendency to self sabotage every other generation or so post Wii. Like they get the Wii, they get the Wii U, now we get the Switch. Now I'm worried the next thing's going to be this fucking VR monstrosity that Shigeru Miyamoto has been obsessed with in R&D for ever since the fucking Virtual Boy, which gets blamed on Gunpei Yokoi, but actually Miyamoto was a lot of the thing for that because he was pushing the software into that fucking system. And poor fuck.
because of the leadership and
Oh, hold on,
Nintendo
real quick,
is
Zilla. I'm sorry. I
expanding.
think they lost audio. I think when I switched tabs, I think they lost audio. Keithius, can you hear Zilla? Zilla, say, go on with what you were saying. I apologize. I think I cut your audio when
Can
I moved the tab because I'm a fucking boomer. It's back. Okay. Yeah. So we can't. Okay. So we can't have
okay,
Nintendo Prime's mug up while we talk about Switch 2, but that's okay. Anyway, go ahead.
okay, okay. So because Nintendo is expanding into uh, other media, right? What they did, see, I saw Nintendo do about a year or two, right? When they started to talk about the theme park,
Uh huh.
Miyamoto is behind. Like they pushed the new leadership pushed Miyamoto into the theme park,
Yeah,
right?
that was, and I'll tell you what, that I approve.
Yeah, right. And that's a solid idea, because he's still a great guy when you're talking about
I
that.
don't dislike Miyamoto, but Miyamoto,
He's the reason why we got. He's the reason why we got those weird looking Starbucks games and some other
right,
weird other games, right? And I don't fault him
100%.
for it,
And
right?
he's also the reason why we
But
didn't get a 2D Mario game for 18 years, also. So yeah,
so so I think that you can take the Miyamoto thing off the table, right? Because he's doing other stuff. He needs to be
hmm
watching that
yeah,
because he's like he does that. He has to do all the minute details and things. He goes balls to the wall when he's on a project. So he's on that theme park shit,
yeah.
right?
He's been hands
And
off
they
the
just going,
entire Switch generation. I would argue to the Switch's, I would argue to the Switch's benefit. He's been off
yeah.
hands off.
So all the are there are gamers and they were developers or art designers or whatever, right? Um, so when you're talking about and they're good and they're good businessmen, right? So moving forward, I think that the marketing is going to be good. I think that they even like because Nintendo has to run at a profit, so I think this relationship um with what's the is it Nvidia?
They got a great, yeah. It's Nvidia. They've got their partnership that's their
So
hardware partnership.
and
Yeah.
the advancements with Nvidia and the ARM technology,
Yeah,
and the
OJ was talking.
DLSS,
Yeah, that's it. DLSS is what OJ's kind of really pushing as far as
right?
what he expects.
That's going to keep. Now I'm hoping, right? So this is my hope though. Um, I'm hoping that the Nvidia Nintendo partnership nets Nintendo to be able to maximize the most out of the latest Nvidia technologies up until whenever they started to develop it, right?
hmm
The next Switch. I say that because I'm okay with it being low power and all of that,
Me
but
too.
if the
One.
technology's in it, where you have the DLSS, like the DLSS 3 or something like that, and it does all that AI technology and all that good stuff, right? Um, it upreses and it makes it look good, great, right?
hmm
And I'm cool with that, right? I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the developers, you know, making great use of the power that's given. Like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, right? They're not doing anything. I could say PS5. They're not, but for the most part, they're not doing anything outside of things just visually looking better and running faster with the power. You know, that like PS5 did it when you're talking about the architecture that they designed so that everything moves super fast, hardly no loading screens and stuff like that, right?
Sure.
But there's more to that power that can happen.
Well,
And
and,
for
I'll tell
me,
you where it's going. I'll tell you where it's going, Zilla, because I was making this point a while back to I think it was Scorpio Caesar I was talking to when I said what's going on is they always sell us a lie. in game development in terms of you give us more
Uh-huh.
power, you give us more processing, we'll give you bigger, better games. But notice that the games aren't
Mhm.
getting bigger and they're not getting better. What's happening is they're giving us less optimized games. So the hardware bumps
Yes.
aren't for us; they're for the fucking developers to not work as hard. That's what's happening.
Hmm.
It's saving them
And
effort. We're getting. That's why the games are not really getting like this year was an anomaly because in general the games are shittier games, less
mhm,
optimized games, messes of games that they have to spend 3 years fucking patching. That's what but they can do that because the systems have that power and that processing increase. So it allows them to work
mhm.
less hard instead of working harder to deliver a better product for us, is what's happening.
Not to say that they're not working hard, because
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's still hard.
Full disclosure, games industry. There's a reason these guys fucking burn out like in 5 years and go on to higher
Hmm.
paying work.
Hmm.
It's not that game developers are
Hmm.
lazy. This is yeah. I need to. Thank you. I need to preface that we're talking about the greedy ass fucking publishers and the fucking soulless middlemen who are
It's the
doing this.
corporations. It's
Yes,
not the workers. It's the corporations,
100%.
right?
Always.
And so my, so I so if you look into Echo Generation, granted it's an Xbox One game, and but if you look at Echo Generation, I could play more of games like that, right?
Hmm.
Because I like my two key tenets for uh gaming is gameplay and just the overall writing, like the overall experience, the gameplay, and then the overall experience.
Hmm.
Like, are you giving me a proper story or a proper experience, right?
How does this world
Um,
feel? How does this world feel to me?
hmm
Yeah.
hmm like the games that I really dig into are like open world type games, right?
Hmm.
So like your 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 Hogwarts Legacy, your Tomb Raider, your games that you can move around freely, but also I'm cool with more narrow games as well.
Well,
Like I can
and keep in
put me
mind that
into a 2D game.
the power crutch is also. Have you seen the shit Sven Vink, who made Larian Studios boss, and what Iji Aonuma has both been saying in terms of like, look at the
Right.
two biggest games of the year: Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3. No question,
Mhm.
like leaps above everything else that's come out in terms of the ambition behind these fucking games, the
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
ambition behind them. And one of the points that they made is that like I think it was Anuma and Kobayashi were talking about doing doing Minecraft as a trajectory. They're looking at the Minecraft trajectory, right? In terms of so they skipped
Hmm.
Elden Ring and they said, "Now fuck that, we're going for the real phenomenon, which is fucking Minecraft." Like that's what they were
Uh-huh.
trying to do. Sven Vink looked at another trajectory, and that was Ultima 7, The Black Gate, which is one of the greatest open world games of all time. And both
Okay.
both men made the point that essentially what's happening is that with more graphical power and processing power, yeah, it gives developers more to work with. But because of the complexity of developing in polygonal 4K, 8K game development, that's actually setting gaming back because what's happening is you're getting bigger worlds, sure, but you're also getting more empty worlds or you're getting more static worlds.
Yep.
Whereas Tears of
Yep.
the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3, both in their own way, try to go for that Minecraft or that ultimate trajectory, which is how do I let's give the overworld, but we want to give you the ability to interact in this world in interesting ways, to throw an apple in the fire and roast an apple. Or like, for
Hmm.
example, in Baldur's Gate 3, to take a candle and drop a candle. And then if you drop that candle, you can now dip your arrows in fire and you have fire arrows. Or to throw a bottle of
Hmm.
water and then to hit them with an electric spell. Or to
Hmm.
literally that's the kind of interactivity in these worlds, and both of these harken back to that ultimate trajectory. So I made this point earlier on X on one on thread, which is that if you look at a game like Ultima 7, you have a house, right? And this is back in, keep in mind, the year's going to blow your fucking mind at the end of this. So Ultima 7, you've got a house. You've got one house, the door's locked, okay? How do
Mhm.
you get into that house? Well, let's start with knocking. You can knock on the door. And if the NPC has a good relationship with your character, he might let you in. Or
Mhm.
you can pick the lock. Not good at lock picking? Well, do you have a caustic material? You can melt the lock. Don't have
Oh
that?
snap!
Are you strong enough? You can bash the door down. Well, there's windows in the house. You can jimmy a window open. You can bust a window open. You can climb up on the roof and you can go down the chimney if if the chimney is large enough. Is the chimney not large enough? Well, if you can shrink or transform into a mouse, you can go down the chimney that way. But wait a second. Is there fire? Is there a fire lit? Uh-oh. Got to account for that. You can still go down the chimney if you douse it with water first.
Mm.
You can also just burn the fucking house down. You can do that in Ultima 7.
Mm.
All of
Really?
this, yeah, if you have a familiar, you can, if like there's a mouse familiar, if you're a sorcerer, you can send the mouse in to unlock the door from the inside. That is all the interactions for one house. Now,
Wow.
now are you ready for the year this game came out?
Yeah.
1992.
Yeah. I remember Ultimate 7.
Yeah.
I never played it, but I remember,
Oh,
looking
it was
in
a
the
nuclear
EGMs.
fucking bomb on the landscape of gaming back then.
But I didn't know if I would have known it was like that. I would have played that game.
Oh yeah, well, you had to build a new PC every time a fucking Ultima came out. Like that's how advanced these games were. Another game called Star Control 2. So we mentioned Starfield earlier. Star Control 2 also
Hmm.
came out in 1992. It is a universe with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of worlds. Still does
Hmm.
things that Starfield can't do to this day because it has to account for 4K polygonal HD graphics that has to be processed and developed. So the trajectory
Hmm.
of prioritizing graphical fidelity and processing power, what Sven Vink and E.G. Aonuma were kind of getting at was it's actually setting gaming back in terms of the interactivity of the world. You're getting
Hmm.
bigger, better worlds, but you're only getting a very limited, narrow scope. So here's the gameplay skeleton. The gameplay skeleton can do these few 4 or 5 things, and we build a game around that versus building a dense, interactive world, the likes of which you see in Tears of the Kingdom and in Baldur's Gate 3. And it's no wonder that these are the two games that were the most well-received games of the year. They follow that ultimate
Hmm.
trajectory of having that interactive world, of increasing the interactivity of that open world. And I think that's the
So
future.
what
The
I like
future of open.
about
Oh, sorry. One last thing. I apologize.
no,
the
go
the
ahead,
future of open
go
worlds to
ahead.
me is going to be a smaller world with more to do in that world. And I'll end on that note. So what do you think?
I'm cool. I'm cool with that. What I like about Breath of the Wild and um, Tears of the Kingdom is that I'm gonna start with Breath of the Wild because Tears of the Kingdom is an extension of that. But what I like about Breath, how I how you decide to play that game, because there's an end, right? But how you get to that end is totally on you,
It's
right?
amazing. Yeah.
And and I feel as I mature in gaming, I want more freedom in my games to do whatever I want to do, right? Case part of the point, right?
Hmm.
In Breath of the Wild, I was, just moving around in the world, and then I saw because I know you can pretty much climb anything, right?
Right.
And when my goal was to get to the top of those twin peaks, those two mountains that got
That's
the
such an
split
awesome
in between,
landmark.
all right? So my goal was to get to the top of that because I wanted to see what's up there, right?
Uh-huh.
So everything I did up until the point to that one goal, right, was to increase my stamina to get up there, right? And like, so there's other journeys. Throughout my journeys, there's many quests and other little side trek things because you're riding a horse or you're just riding or walking around exploring and you see things that pique your interest,
Uh-huh.
right? But I'm doing it just to get to the top of that mountain. So then I get to the top of the mountain. Now, up until that point, everything that I've gotten up until that point, now I can go off the top of that mountain and do all types of other things. And I'm just like, hey, what's over there? Oftentimes I booted that game and would just look into the distance and be like, I'm going there. And it might take me forever. It might take me 2, 3 days to get there because on the way to there,
You're gonna find
right,
a million
I'm
other
doing other things,
yes. And so
right?
it creates
So
these
that is,
it creates this it creates this what's the word I want to use? It's an exploratory nature. It's emergent gameplay is what it
mhm,
creates. It's emergent gameplay.
mhm, mhm. So Witcher 3, right,
Hmm.
is similar to that. Granted, you can't climb shit and stuff like that, right?
All right.
However, how it's written, how the NPCs are in the world, right?
Hmm.
It makes you think that you're in it makes you, whatever it's called, whatever, I don't know what the name of that planet is called, but it makes you feel like you're there, right? So like I wasn't like playing that game for objective to objective, right? Because sometimes you might not be strong enough to go to the next objective. So then I start just doing side missions and talking to randos because it's like pretty much all the random people. I'll say like 50% of the random people will give you something to do, right?
Hmm.
And when you get through the story, right? And Days Gone is like this as well. As you get through the story, you realize how everybody is connected, right? It's like you go here on this one side of the world, and there's some there's some connection to the other side, and you're like, wow, how do you know? Like, do you guys know each other? Like situation, and it's amazing. And like Days Gone. See, I had Days Gone on PS4, but I really didn't play it until I got the PS5, right? And they
Hmm.
had they had the little upgraded graphics or whatever they did to
Right.
the
Yeah.
resolution or something. And then, so when I started playing that, I'm, I'm like, hmm, maybe 4 hours in. Like, I love all of the mechanics. I love,
Nice.
um, I like messing with the motorcycle. I like messing with the different factions, or different communities that you come across. I like just driving and just taking in the scenery, right? Because when you're picking up little uh, tidbits of what happened in the past and how you why this world is the way it is right now. It's a lot of little breadcrumbs that fills in, it breathes life into that world, and th- that game is a great game, and I'm upset that uh, Sony, because of the performance of the game, wasn't whatever it needed to be. They should really get back into that because that I want to revisit that world. Um, my
Interesting. Yeah.
backlog is too my backlog is too deep for me to want to replay games. It's funny because online people are like, "Oh man, that's just the one and done." I said, "Dog, all games are one and done for me. Like if it's a game that I have to keep playing, I'm not pretty much not going to
Well,
play that.
and therein
Like,
lies my idea of a masterpiece is it's a game I continue to come back to over and over again. There's very few of those games that I
well,
will play, but if I play your game, if I play you once a year, that's a fucking masterpiece. Like hell,
and
if I play you
a
once every
masterpiece.
5, it is.
So for me, right, um, a gaming masterpiece and a movie masterpiece are two different things, right?
Oh, definitely.
Because you're gonna you may I'm a guy that can watch a 4 hour movie and be fine with it because if the movie, tells the proper story and it resolves itself at the end and it's a great journey the whole way through, it doesn't matter how long it is. However, with a game, it's going to be a 40 to 50-hour game for me off the bat, unless the game is just short. Like I just recently beat a game called Dead Light Director's Cut on Xbox Series X, and it's like a side-scrolling um, um, post-apocalyptic game that's like they call them shadows, but they're really zombies. And it's side-scrolling game, and it's pretty good, cool. Uh, it, but I probably only put like 6 hours into the game before I finished it. But it was a great experience, right? But a masterpiece in gaming is I put 200 plus hours or 150 plus hours in or 60 hours in, and I'm good. Like I can move on. I fully enjoyed it. Some games I want to come back to just because, like a Spider-Man, just because I like swinging around for
Right.
right.
Well, that's
But
that's me
like,
with Morrowind, man. I play Morrowind every year. It doesn't hurt that Tamriel Rebuilt is still putting out fucking expansions into that goddamn game. Like they're still putting pieces of the mainland together, like using the official lore, and oh, it's so cool. But yeah, there's so many games
the only games that I can really the only games I can come back to are small, bite-sized games
yeah, you're
because
your
I know
NES
I'm not
era
going to
of
put too
gaming.
much
Yeah.
into it. Yeah, I'm in and out. Like one of the games that I'm playing on my Series S now is Comic Zone. Like
Oh, it's
that's
a
a game that
great
really
game.
needs to be remade. Because like no one has ever like I love jumping from panel to panel, and then the panels rip.
That was
Like
such a cool
you
game.
punching somebody, you punch somebody through two panels, and
Uh
it
huh.
rips, and they're like, "What the hell?"
No, that
Like
was
that game
phenomenal.
really needs to be remade. They need to
Well,
remake that
you
game
saw
or do a
Sega.
sequel
You
or whatever.
saw Sega's doing.
Yeah,
Maybe we get a
I hope
Comic
they
Zone.
do.
That would be a good candidate for sure.
I was I have this idea.
Yeah.
Like if I hit the lotto, I want to create a gaming um development house, right? And I'm gonna try to acquire some IP from back in the day. I think my first one that I'm gonna try to get a hold of is whoever created Earthworm Jim. Like
You're,
Interplay
dude,
doesn't.
yeah,
I don't think
we need
Interplay has
Earthworm
it
Jim
anymore,
back.
right? I don't think Interplay has that anymore. But Earthworm Jim was a great game, and I have like one and two now as I was rebuilding
Hmm.
my retro collection. But Earthworm Jim is a great game. It's a game also that came out that was by Interplay called Blackthorn, and that was a
Dude,
great
Blackthorn.
game
Yeah,
as well. Like
that was
I'm
Blizzard. That was a Blizzard joint.
okay, okay,
Yeah, well,
okay.
Interplay
That was great.
published it, but yeah, Rock and Roll Racing, Blackthorn, and the uh the Vikings. I forget the name. They're
Mm, Vikings, Jesus, that game. So
yeah,
okay, when
Lost
Sega
Vikings.
came out,
Those are
right?
the three Blizzard joints. Yeah, that were in that system.
Yeah, Blizzard Interplay games, and so when Sega had their 5 games, that little snippet that they had with those new 5 games, like one, I'm gonna get all of them. I love all of them. But when I saw Golden Axe and I saw that guy with the freaking, it was the dwarf with the horns. I was like, please don't tell me this is Lost Vikings because I will lose my shit.
Yeah, Lost Vikings would be
But
incredible coming back.
I love Lost Vikings. I love that game. I have that. I end up re-getting that as well. But yeah, Lost Vikings. I want to bring back so many, do like updated versions, and sometimes like what I also like about the new game systems now that they can really do cartoon graphics well, like hand drawn graphics, like Shinobi, say like Sega's doing with Shinobi. I love
Nice.
that. Like give me that artistic flip. Um, there was a Shinobi that came out during the PS4 era. That was more like it was a side-scrolling game, and it was like 3D side scrolling. And I think that they did the right thing when they did the hand-drawn watercolor type aesthetic
For
with
Shinobi,
the
it'd
new
be
Shinobi.
perfect. Yes. No, that new Shinobi
Hmm.
game looks beasty. I'm very excited for that.
And I
100%.
haven't seen a game like I would like. I would probably prefer GoldenEye to be similar to that because it was a game that came out like during the PS3 era. I forgot the name of it, but it looked like a GoldenEye type game, and it was like I want to say it was like I don't know if it was called Dragon's Crown or something crazy like that. I
Ooh, yeah,
couldn't
that
get
was
to it. Like,
the Vanillaware game, like the beat 'em up. Yeah.
yeah, but it was a nice hand drawn graphics, and the characters are really big, like the old school
Yes,
arcade
we
games.
need Dragon's Crown, we need Odin's Sphere, and we need Muramasa the Demon Blade. Like, bring that shit to Switch, you sons of bitches. I want to play it.
Mm-hmm. I'm for all of that, man. It's like so. I'm not. I guess because I come from the '80s era of games. It could be hands drawn. It could be blocky. It could be super high fidelity. It doesn't matter. Just give me a great experience. Like I
Yes.
don't care what the game looks like as long as the game plays well and it's a
Well,
good
right,
story.
because
That's
if
all
it's
I
all
care
about
about.
graphics and power, like pretty soon you'll have a game like about a pair having to get a pair up a set of stairs, and I guess we'll fucking call it Pair Stair 64 or some shit. Like, like who the fuck wants to play that? Like, we want to
Hmm.
play. Do what Origin Systems tagline said. We build worlds. We build
Hmm.
worlds, or Miyamoto would say, like every game is like a sandbox or a toy box with different toys in it. Like
Hmm.
that's the kind of mentality. But all right, let's take a quick peek here and let's go to chats and kind of go through these chats real quick. So Phil One Up Collect says we call these Zuper chats, by the way. Is I think what Rush Dog
Okay.
calls them. So not that anybody super chats me. I don't take anybody's fucking money. I'm a hobbyist YouTuber. I don't
Hmm.
no, don't have to pay me. I'll read your comment for free. Um,
Hmm.
that's what's great about Zuper chat. So, Zoo, did you get me steak for dinner? I didn't get you shit, but but again, you don't want me to get you steak because I'm an Illinois boy and you're in Oklahoma, and that means you have access to the best fucking steaks on planet Earth. So,
Hmm.
outside of Italy with bistecca al Fiorentina, but I had Yassa chicken and jollof rice tonight, Phil, which you should try.
Mm.
Oh gosh, are you familiar with? Oh, it's so good,
Hmm.
so fucking good.
Hmm.
So that's what I had tonight, but I think I'm gonna do steak tomorrow. I'm gonna do like a steak with like a compound butter. I think that sounds good. Nice baked potato. So I'll definitely hit steak tomorrow. Bourbon and steak kind of night for sure, buddy. And then Phil One Up says, I miss when Nintendo went for the third party exclusives, the mature games, and the focus on keeping up with power and specs like back then. Well, and I get that, Phil, but the problem is that Nintendo was seeing a very diminishing returns with that. They tried it with the GameCube, they
Hmm.
tried it with the N64, and they got their fucking ass handed to them. So I get it and I respect that perspective, but from a business standpoint, there's not much in that for Nintendo trying to compete on that level. There just isn't.
Hey, where's the chat at? Where's the chat at? I don't see it.
So if you go to my, and again, part of it's that I'm fucking boomer brain. I'm looking at it from the Streamlabs tab, but a lot of folks, what they'll do is they'll
Oh.
bring the chat up in YouTube. They'll kind of have a YouTube open, and then they'll be like the
Mm.
chat should be visible there as well. But I'm going to read them all to you if you don't want to do that as well.
Okay.
That way you can
Okay.
respond as
Okay.
well. Um, so then you've got
So, what did he just say? What were we just talking about?
oh, so he says he misses when Nintendo went for third-party exclusives, mature games, and focused on keeping up with
Okay,
the
yeah.
power and specs.
Look, so okay, all right. Power and specs, right? Where have we gotten? with Xbox Series X and PS5, and you're talking about power and spec, right?
Hmm.
What have we gotten any better experiences inside the game outside of just loading screens and you know
Yeah,
hopping in between games?
Solid Snake smoking.
You know, like
Um,
have we enhanced the gaming experience inside of the game because of that power? No.
well, I'm gonna take you
With
through time
Nintendo
too,
Switch,
Phil. Yeah. I'm gonna take you through time. So you have the Commodore. So did the NES win, or did the Commodore 64 and the advanced gaming PCs of the 8-bit era win? The NES won.
exactly,
The Sega Genesis and
exactly.
the Super Nintendo were a fucking tie. Um,
Hmm.
and each kind of did different things better. So that generation was kind of the one anomaly here. But if you compare it to the overall generation, you also had systems like the 3DO, and you had systems like the Neo Geo that showed up in that era, kind of a cross generational
Hmm.
era, but they kicked its ass. Those systems weren't viable.
Hmm.
Then, if you go to the next generation, you got the N64 and you got the PlayStation 1. The next generation, you have the Xbox, the most advanced graphically. You have the GameCube, very advanced graphically. You got the PS2. PS2 one.
PS2 one.
Nintendo Wii beat the 360 and beat the PS3. The um the next generation was kind of an anomaly because the Wii U was such a rotten piece of shit. Um so
Hey man, that's not talking. We're not going to say that.
um oh gosh, just I'm looking, and again, not from a gaming perspective, from a business perspective. Um,
Yes, yes,
that
yes.
thing was
I
never
agree.
gonna, yeah, that thing was never gonna win. From a gaming perspective, like I'm enjoying a lot of the great games from the Wii U era on my Nintendo Switch because it's a system that actually has fucking sales. So now just give me Xenoblade X. But basically, what I'm trying to take you through time and say is that the entire history of gaming is the less advanced hardware triumphing over the more advanced hardware. It's the
And
entire
mainly,
history.
and it's because it's better games.
Exactly.
Wherever the great games are is where you're who's gonna that's where you're gonna find the success.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah, and by the
um,
way, every one of those
um,
systems that won, by the way, had a massive gaming library, had a huge library of games.
mhm,
100%.
mhm.
So I agree.
Now it's great. It's
So
a great thing.
yeah, and so I respectfully
It's a great thing to have it's a great thing to have high great technology, right?
right.
But it's what the developers are doing with that technology that makes it better, right? Are we enhancing the gaming that way, or are we just making things look better, pretty?
Exactly.
You can only shine you can only shine a turd but so much.
Hey, Crimson Rosso just showed up. Welcome, buddy. Coming into the tail end, but I'm glad you made it here. If you have any questions for us, or you have anything you want us to, we're going through the super chats right now. Um, so yeah, Phil, I get what you're saying. I just, as a business person and even as a gamer, I just respectfully disagree. Um, he said, Phil one up then says, I wonder if you brought macroeconomics to an investor in a video game meeting and what they would say and do hearing that. And he laughs. They would ignore me. They would fucking ignore
Hmm.
me. That's what they would do. Just like they ignored the Splatoon guy that paid an assload of money to like scream at them about Splatoon. Like that's what they would do to me. They would ignore me. I can tell you that that's what they would do because I used to ask those questions at the investor conferences and they fucking ignored me because I used to be an investor for Nintendo. So that's what they do. They would ignore it because again they're not there to wipe my ass. They're there to make sure their investors have the best rosiest picture of Nintendo they can possibly paint. And so some asshole saying but my macroeconomics, like they don't care. Like they don't care. I'm right, but they don't care. Um, that's not what they're there to do. So
Hmm.
let's see. The Tourist is the game I think. Yeah, it was 4K or 8K game. Keith
It
Silvio
is.
says, and you were right about that. Yeah,
Yep.
and he says I would like to have GTA 4 on the Switch. I would like to have any fucking GTA on the Switch, but it ain't gonna
Mm.
happen. Um, But again, maybe Zilla's right. Maybe we see 5. Maybe they finally decide to get their fucking head out of their ass. Not that GTA 5 needs more fucking sales, but Switch is the place to do it. Uh, that's another 10 million in their fucking coffer the moment they decide to launch that for Switch.
If you're here for the money, let's just get the money.
Uh-huh.
Like
Well,
all that petty stuff out the way. I
yeah,
mean,
get it out. Yeah,
you
get it
know,
out of here. Like, I get that people are pissed. It's just like Square and Nintendo not fucking working together for over a fucking decade over a fucking spat. And literally, you literally had to have the two heads of the Yamauchi and like Wada literally step down in order for that to happen. By the way, and like that's how bad that blood was. Like, that was a fucking blood feud. That was actually the Square thing was way worse than even the DMA
DMA.
Designs thing was. Like, that was a fucking literally. He told him like, "Don't come back." Like, it told, which
Damn.
not the best Yamauchi move. Like, because Final Fantasy VII ended up being a fucking world beater. But then it says, yeah, I think you lost audio for Zilla. It's back. And then, yeah, Crimson says, yo. And then, yeah, the trilogy is on Switch. Yeah, the trilogy is on Switch. That half-ass piece of shit. Like, yeah, that
Trilogy of what?
Grand Theft Auto trilogy is on Switch. Keithius is pointing out.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
is it?
Yeah, that thing runs like dog shit, but not just on the Switch. That thing that was Grove Street Games, and Grove Street Games just that is a fucking port mill, and they're bad at it. So I would love it. Like, that game, you don't understand, Keithius, how brokenhearted I was, because that is the Holy Trinity. That's what I called the Holy Trinity earlier. Was Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, and they fucking pissed in our faces with that. Like, and people will say, well, but Zoo, they patched it up. Like, I'm sorry, what? Oh, I'm sorry, they patched it up. Like, what? I'm sorry, what's
Let me
that?
tell you. Let me tell you about patching it up. Let me tell you about patching it up.
What are
I got
patches?
my brother. My brother got me Cyberpunk 2077 when it came out for my birthday. Right. I have I have yet to put that thing in my console because initially when they had all that bull crap going on, and it was just like I was like, you know what? I just won't play the game. And then lately, when they're talking about most improved and all this other stuff, and it's like, okay, eventually I'm about to. So now it's in my mind to actually play the game. So I'll probably play that game within the next 4 months.
You're nicer than I
Now,
am.
but it's been sitting on my shelf that long.
So here's the thing about
because of patches.
Here's the thing about these patches. So, one, full disclosure, when I review a game, and this is going to piss off a lot of people, but it's true. When I review a game in airplane mode. So what does that mean? That means however you fucking decided to ship that game, you're going to own that game in my review. I'm going to review that game. 1.0, baby. Whatever's on that cart, that's what I'm playing. That's what I'm reviewing. So there's that. But so I think the whole idea of patching games is giving a lot of developers a false sense of security. Video games are a momentum-based business, and you only get one start. It's just like a false start in a race. If you come off the line before that gun blows, you're out. And outside of a few mega games that can get away with doing that, I don't think a majority of game developers can get away with porting a piece of shit game over and then patching it up over the long term. There's a few success stories, but video games are largely a momentum-based business, and I think that they ignore that at their own peril. So, very few is there a Cyberpunk or like a No Man's Sky. Like, those are rare exceptions. Most games, when they ship broke, they just get ignored and they get faded like a fart in the wind.
And Cyberpunk only got that grace because of Witcher 3.
That's literally, without it, yeah, we were done with you. So, alrighty. So,
if they didn't have Witcher 3, they wouldn't have got that grace.
Right. Nor should they have. But we know we know they can do better, because like Angry Joe said, where he's like brought CD Projekt Red into the principal's office, like, you can do better than this. Like, Absolutely. So, all right. So I think that's pretty much everything in terms of the comments. So I always like to give my guest an opportunity. You have any questions for me? I've been interviewing you, putting you in the fucking hot seat all night. What questions do you have for
Man,
me?
we
If
just
any?
been. I don't have any questions. We just been vibing. We talked about all types of crap,
It's been great, huh?
and yeah, it's pretty good conversation. I appreciate the invite, man.
Sounds good, buddy. So that being said, I think we'll wrap up here. But I have one last question for you before we get this all done. Did you have fun?
I sure did.
Fantastic. All right.
I
Well, I
sure did.
think we're going to end the stream here, guys. So at this point, if you want to stay on, we'll have a. I always like to have a kind of a quick denouement before I get off with you, but I'm going to go ahead and kick the chat out of here. Oh, we did have one comment come through. Have 160 Switch games on the Switch. Sad truth is only 10 of my games are on the cart. Well, that's okay. And here's the thing, Keithy. It's like I have no shade toward digital gamers at all. Like I think every game ought to be available digital, but I think that games also ought to be available physical, which is what I like. So I'm all for digital games. I'm all for having as many avenues for people to play video games as possible, but don't take my avenue away because I'm not going to jump into the digital future. The moment games go all digital, I'm done. I'm a retired gamer. I'll just go enjoy my fucking 400 fucking ridiculous mountain of goddamn Switch cards, and I'll just take my fucking ball and I'll shuffle off to the fucking gaming retirement community where I probably belong. Um, but yeah, no shade to people who like digital gaming, like none at all. Like you guys enjoy your end user license agreements, enjoy. Like you know, no shade at all. Like enjoy the end user license agreement that you temporarily have. I want you to be able to purchase games that way if that's what you want to do. But they don't exist to me. Like everybody talks about Alan Wake 2. It's like Alan Wake 2 sure sounds like an interesting idea for a sequel to Alan Wake. I hope they make that game someday. Sounds really cool.
Look, Alan. Look, when I had Game Pass Ultimate, I had Alan Wake, and I didn't like Alan Wake. So when they said Alan Wake 2 is coming out, I was like, well, if it's anything like Alan Wake, I'm not going to play it.
So Alan Wake 1, not good, huh, Dookie?
I didn't like it.
Okay. All righty. Well, I'm gonna kick the chat out of here. So, guys, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much, despite the technical difficulties. Still had a pretty decent showing. So I appreciate that more than you know. Thank you so much, and I love you all. Now get out of here.